Hello, hello, hello. Twist it. There we go. How y'all doing today? Another wonderful Monday afternoon or evening or night or whatever you guys want to call it. Hope everybody had a wonderful day, good, safe day. Sorry about my head being so shiny. Appreciate you joining. How you doing, Miss Alicia? Still getting adjusted to the new place. The other one, I just kind of cut it on, put it in my holder, and I was good. Still look even. Yeah. Well, I hope everybody's having a wonderful Monday. Appreciate y'all joining me here today. Of course, I'm Brother John on behalf of the Lost Sheep Ministries, sponsored by River Lake Baptist Church. Here to bring out another lesson tonight on the will of God and the success that comes from following that will. That's what we've been studying for. It's been a while now. This is part 9. Yeah, I believe part 9. But I hope it's been good. I hope it's been, I pray that it's been not just good, just enjoyment. I pray it's been good as far as helping y'all. If there's anything about the will of God that you haven't understood or understood how to get to or see or whatnot, I pray that this has been helping you open your eyes up to some things that you can do to get to that point that God wants you to be. So I'm going to sit up here. I'm going to just give a minute or so while I sit up. Then I'm going to go ahead and jump into the lesson tonight because I've been running out of time. And I want to go ahead and finish this tonight. Not to rush it, but it's only 4 points left to finish the lesson as a whole as far as the success in the will of God. Not the whole chapter, because the first part of the chapter is dealing more with what we've been going over, just success in the will of God, and I've been trying to help people find, know what they need to know to find the will of God. But it deals more. The last part of the chapter deals more with the rewards you get from following that will. So it's going to be a little bit of this, still dealing with the will of God, but it's going to be a little bit more of a different aspect of it. It's going to be more of the rewards that comes from following that will and doing those things that he said do and go those places that he said to go, although you might not have wanted to. Going to Waverly, Tennessee when you didn't even know where the heck Waverly, Tennessee was at, kind of thing. So that's what we're going to be discussing. Of course, we're in 1 Samuel chapter 10. If you got your Bibles and you want to follow along, as soon as I get my spot here. 1 Samuel chapter 10. Man, this desk, I do miss my desk. I broke it in the move, and this desk is smaller and it moves around. So if I kick it or something, it's gonna move and on me and everything. And it's just getting adjusted though, just new stuff. As long as it don't mess up the lesson, I'm fine. That's the main part. Let me get my charge out just in case I get long-winded. Well, not no just in case it's gonna happen, but. Set up just in case. I know my battery's like at 40%. Sometimes it lasts, sometimes it don't. Just in case, we don't want that bad boy to cut off. So we see this H2O, we're gonna get started. So again, thank y'all for joining me today. Brother John Stewart on behalf of the Lost Sheep Ministries, on behalf of River Lake Baptist Church, here to bring a lesson. How you doing, Miss Tanya? Appreciate you being able to make it in here tonight. I'm glad you're here. But Miss Alicia, as always, appreciate you being here. Hope that grandbaby's doing good. But again, John Stewart on behalf of Lost Sheep Ministries, River Lake Baptist Church, here to bring out another installment of Success in the Will of God. If y'all been following me for the last few weeks, we started this a while ago. I think it was back in January when we first started, toward the end of December when we first started it. And then kind of got away from a little while. I had to do my test. I did my testimony, did some sermons and things of that nature. And now we're going back to it. And we're going to conclude up tonight. I think I only got 4 points. So I'm trying not to talk too much and go ahead and conclude it up as far as the series Success in the Will of God. And then we're going to go forward and see what happens, the success that I've been talking about. How you doing, Daniel? Appreciate you being here, brother. Happy belated birthday to you, too. I didn't know it was your birthday the other day. I wish you would have told me. But happy belated birthday to you. But again, just conclude it up, and then we're going to get to see what happens when you follow God's will and how the success is going to come into your life and the things that God will do for you when you make that decision that you're going to follow his will. So just real quick, we covered 3 points last week in the lesson. The 3 points that we covered last week were the first one we covered was number 4 in chapter 10 as far as the points in chapter 10, but it was the first point from last week. And number 4 was once you become spirit-filled, you will be spirit-led. Then I kind of just really got into making sure and explaining what being spirit-filled means. It don't mean that you're going to get more of the Holy Spirit and you're going to talk in tongues and roll all over the floor. Being spirit-filled means that you're giving more of yourself to the Spirit. And you know what I'm saying? Instead of giving into the flesh, you're giving more into the Spirit, and that's when you really get spirit-filled. The amount of spirit you get is the amount of spirit you get when you first get saved is the amount of spirit that you're going to have throughout. But the Spirit gets more of you. And I spent a little bit of time explaining the difference, and just kind of getting into really what it really means to be Spirit-filled. And like I said, being Spirit-filled means just not that you're getting more of the Holy Spirit, it's the Holy Spirit getting more of you, because you're learning to listen to your Spirit, and you follow your Spirit, and you're doing the things your Spirit tells you to do. And that's why I said Spirit, once you get Spirit-filled, you will be Spirit-led. And that's what happened there. We talked about that. And I talked about how anything I do before I do these lessons, when I put these lessons together, everything I do, I always ask the Lord to guide me in the direction that he wants me to go. I want to do what he wants me to be doing, not what I want to be doing. I don't want to be sharing my opinion. I want to be sharing his truths. So again, and we saw where when Samuel was talking to Saul, he told him, gave him these things to do, and then he said at some point, the Spirit is going to come on you, and once the Spirit come on you, just do whatever you think is best, because God is going to be with you. So it shows you. So he basically told him, you about to be Spirit-filled, and once you be Spirit-filled, just whatever you do is going to be right, because you're being Spirit-led. So that was number 4, and of course you want to get into the details of that. Go back and watch the video from last week. But number 4 from last week was once you become Spirit-filled, you will be Spirit-led. Then after that, we had several references as we was kind of going through the chapter, several references back to previous lessons from chapter 9. We had a reference back to number 6 of chapter 9, which is you have to remain patient. It's all about God's time and not your own. We had a reference to number 9 from chapter 9, and that was be willing to make the sacrifices for the well-being of others. And it's going to cost you, it's going to cost you to do the will of God. There's just something you got to make sure you remember. We also had a reference back to number 4 from chapter 9. And that is be willing to obey God's commands. And I just talked about how every promise that God makes us, every time he made a promise saying he's going to do something, when he was talking to the Israelites, when he talked to his people in general, it was always contingent upon us doing something as well. So just be willing to obey his commands. And that thing that we were supposed to be doing was obeying his commands. Then we had a reference to number 3 from the previous week of chapter 10, which was the will of God would change you. And that's going to come up a little bit again tonight, but the will of God will change you. There was a reference back to number 3 from chapter 10. And then we had one more reference, which was referenced back to number 2 from chapter 10, which is when you wholeheartedly follow his will, he will confirm your path. And of course, we just saw the things that Saul was going through, the things that Saul was doing, and Samuel was telling him all these things that were going to happen to let him know that, hey, you really did just get called into this ministry, so to speak. You really just, God really just crowned you king of Israel, and he really does have this work for you to do. And there were certain things that happened that proved to Saul that he was on the right path and he was doing God's work. So that was, so then we came to number 5. And number 5 from last week's lesson was when you fully accept the will of God, he will surround you with the right support system for success. And of course, we talked about that before, and it is going to come up again in a little bit tonight. We talked about the separation and getting people out of your life that'll keep you from the will of God, and separating and get the things out of your life and all that. But this point focused more on the people that God bring into your life to help you be successful in his will. We didn't focus as much on the people that you need to get out of your life as much as we did on the people you need to get in your life. And we saw where when Saul came down, he was spirit-filled, the prophets started heading toward him, and then he started prophesying just like they did, which actually took us into point number 6 was when you see the success that comes from his will, you're going to have a desire to tell others. And, and I just I'll tell y'all something that I'm always stressing, the importance of soul winning and things like that. That's why I do that soul winning. That's why, matter of fact, both of you ladies that's on here right now, met y'all out soul winning. You're not going to be successful if you're not going to get out there and tell others about the kingdom of God. So that's what we ended up. That was point number 6. When you see the success that comes from his will, you're going to have a desire to tell others. And of course, like I said, I just gave an example of how I talked about how when God first called me, how excited I was to go out there and get the gospel to other people, tell other people about what I know now, tell them this, which wasn't a secret, but it wasn't something I know because I wasn't living for the Lord. And I wanted other people to have the same success that I had. I wanted other people to have the same relationship with God that I have. And that's why I do these lessons with y'all. That's why I spend so much time going through these lessons. Don't rush them through them. I'm really giving y'all the way I think, the way I believe, the things that I think, the things that's in my heart. And that don't mean I'm perfect. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm just letting you know the way I think, the way I worship the Lord, the things that I try to do for the Lord, so I can have that close relationship. Because I want y'all to have that close, successful relationship with the Lord as well. And if you somebody that's truly giving your heart to the Lord, truly giving your heart to serving His purpose, His will, and you start doing it, and you start seeing that success, you're gonna want others to have that same success too, unless you're just a horrible person. And we kind of talked about that's what happened with Jonah. He didn't want to go. And he actually got upset when he went to Nineveh and people got saved and the Lord's repented of destroying the place. He actually got upset when the Lord could have destroyed him. You know what I'm saying? When he was running away from the Lord, and he got upset that the Lord showed the Nineveh the same mercy that He showed him. So that's what we kind of talked about, and that's what we ended up at last week's lesson. So that's just a real quick review of what we ended up last week, and so we're gonna go and jump into tonight because I want to get all 4 of these points in tonight. We're gonna keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully we'll get through. And I won't get a little long-winded, but there's some really good points. So that's why I said keep my fingers crossed because they're really good points. But I'm not try not to belabor them too long. But I do want to make sure I explain because there's some really good ones, and it's something. These are ones that I've seen personally that has taken people out of the will of God because of these points. Yeah, I'm sorry if I keep on. This thing looks crooked to me. I don't know if it's my OCD or what. It's just don't look. If it looks crooked to y'all, let me know and I'll try to straighten it. But it is fine. That sign don't matter. It's just I don't know. This is just my OCD messing with me. So again, that was the review. I'm gonna go ahead and pray, and then we're gonna jump into 1 Samuel chapter 10. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for watching over us today. The fact that we're here right now in this moment shows us that you had your hand upon us this day. You kept us all safe today and gave us the opportunity to come back together to honor and glorify your name once again, to get into your word once again. I'm really loving this lesson. I'm not dragging it out because I'm loving it, but I do love this lesson. And as I told people throughout the series that I've been doing, the reason why I'm spending so much time in it is because it's so vital to me. It wasn't until I realized the importance of serving your will with my whole heart that I truly became successful. It's because of that. First making a decision to trust your Savior, of course, but then once I made the decision to trust your Savior, making that decision to trust you as Lord and following your will for my life is what truly brought success to my life. It's truly brought your grace into my life. It's truly gave me the power that I have and the ability that I have to do the things that I do. And that's why I want to spend so much time going through this lesson so people would know what they need to know, have the right mindset, the right attitude, know kind of what to expect, know the roadblocks that's going to be in the road that's going to try to keep them from following your will, so that so they may not have the full power that you offer us all. So I ask you to watch over us tonight, send your spirit down upon me to touch my heart and mind and give me the wisdom I need to guide the people in the right direction, say the words that need to be said, to share this wisdom with them so they may have to want to follow your will for their lives as well. And I pray you send your spirit down upon them and get them ready, get their hearts ready to receive this word, Lord. And I pray you put it in their hearts and bring them under conviction. If some things they're not doing that they need to be doing, or some things they're doing they need to stop doing, bring them under conviction about those things so they may follow your will for their life and be able to really enjoy true success in this world. We just thank you once again for this moment. Thank you for keeping us all safe. And we thank you for giving us your word and your blueprint to show us how to have that close relationship with you. We love you and thank you for all you've done and given. Say this prayer in your wonderful Son, Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so if you got your Bibles open, again, we're going to be in 1 Samuel chapter 10. We're right down there. I think it's going to be, where is it? I scribble all through my Bible, so sometimes it's hard to read. Going to be right around verse 10, 11. That's what it is. Somewhere in that area. So, when we left off last week, where we was at, Of course, we know Saul, the whole thing. I ain't gonna go through the whole spiel, but of course, we know Saul, went looking for his father's donkeys. End up and right before that happened, the people had asked the Lord Samuel to give them a king. They wanted the king so they could be like everybody else. They didn't want the Lord to be their king anymore. And Samuel was going to do so, and the Lord told him that it was going to be Saul, basically. And he told him the things that he was going to do to bring Saul to him. And he ended up bringing Saul to Samuel. And Samuel anointed, at this point, Samuel had anointed Saul. And then after he anointed him, he told him, like, okay, once you leave, these things are going to happen. You're going to have these certain things happen. You're going to be filled with the Spirit. You're going to prophesy. You're going to come across these men. And he just gave him all kind of little things to do. And so now we're seeing these signs fulfilled. And that's where some of our points came from last week when we talked about how when you're in the will of God and fully accepted, He's going to show you that you're on the right path. So what we left off at, like I said, was number 6, where we were talking about what I said, when you had it, when he said here, he said, the verse, he said, when Saul and his servant arrived at Gibeah, they saw the prophets coming toward them. And then we talked about how the Lord put the right people in life. He said, then the Spirit of God came upon Saul, and he too began to prophesy. And again, so he saw the success in the will. He saw that what the Lord was doing for him or was about to do for him, and he started prophesying. In other words, he started preaching as well. The preachers came to him, and then next thing you know, the Spirit got on him, and he started preaching as well. And that's all you're doing when preaching. When I'm doing this, I'm just telling y'all the goodness of God and try to help y'all have that close relationship with God, just like I have. This thing is really messing with me, y'all. I'm sorry. It just look crooked to me, and I can't get it straight. It's like the stand is, the phone is crooked on the stand, but it looks straight as far as here. So I'm gonna leave it on. I'm focused on the lesson. Focus. All right. So tonight again, I'm reading out if you're following along, I'll read out the New Living Translation. If you don't have one, and I thought about, I never said that. If you don't have one and you following me regularly, like Miss Alicia and Miss Tully, I know y'all are here pretty regularly. If you're not following, if you follow me on a regular basis and you don't have one and you want one so you can read along, let me know and I can send you one. I got a couple here of the Bibles, this King James and New Living Translation, and I never thought about this. So if y'all want one so you can follow on and it say exactly what see exactly what I'm reading, let me know and I will mail you one or stop by and drop one off to you if you live pretty close. But I read out the New Living Translation. I am a King James believer, not being a heretic, but I just read out the New Living Translation because for my ministry, it's for the lost sheep, and everybody don't have that close relationship with the Lord yet, where the Spirit can dictate the King James to them. So I like to read out the New Living Translation just to make sure people know what's being said here tonight. So with that being said, so again, he says Saul, when they arrived, Saul began to prophesy. So here's going to be the point, the next line. So it says, now when his friends, and he knows what it said, his friends. In other words, people that's familiar with him. He said, now, when his friends heard about it, they exclaimed, what? Is Saul a prophet? How did the son of Kish become a prophet? What? Is Saul a prophet? How did he become a prophet? So that's going to take us to our first point of the night. And this is something we saw happen to Jesus himself, and I'm going to kind of get into it. Matter of fact, we're going to flip over to Matthew here in a second. But number 7, the first point for the night, number 7 for this night's lesson, this is something that will help you endure. This is something that will keep you on the path to the will of God and to help you endure. But number 7 is this. Those that feel they know you the most will doubt you the most. You got to understand that those people that are closer to you, that feel like they know you the most, those are the ones when you make that decision, because this whole lesson has been about us making the decision to trust the will of God and follow the will of God. And of course, how we talked about once you make that decision to follow the will of God, it's going to change you. You're going to be a different person. It's going to be hard for you to do the same thing you used to do. You're not going to be the same person that you used to be. And it's weird. People get almost offended by it. Like, how dare you change who you are, and they always want to hold you to your old standards. They want to always bring up the old you. That's what the devil always try to do. He try to bring up the old you to make you doubt. He try to bring up the old you to keep you from really being the new you. So that's something you got to understand. That's why I said this is if you understand this point, it's going to help you endure in the will of God. Those people that are closest to you, that know you the most, those that, again, I'm going to read it, those that feel, and I said they feel that they know you the most, will doubt you the most. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you had a checker pass. Especially if you somebody that used to be a bad boy or a bad girl and did some dirt back in the day, which we all did some dirt, but some a little bit dirtier than others, so to speak. But you notice it's so weird. Some of the greatest preachers that's ever have ever lived, some of the men that has done the greatest work for God, has always been men that had a checker pass, or men or women that have had checker pass, because you have such amazing testimony because of how far God is taking you. Matter of fact, I tell y'all a site that y'all should look up. It's called Unshackled. Unshackled. The website is called unshackled.org. And what it is this radio. It used to be a radio, before they had TVs, they did radio broadcast. And it was like TV, it was like theater, but it was through the radio. You couldn't see it, you can only hear it. And this company has been around since, I think, over 60, 70 years or something like that. It was back in the early 60s, late 50s, early 60s when they put this together. And what they do, they take people's testimonies and they actually put them into like a story, like one of those old radio programs. And they still do it. They've been doing this for 60-something years, and they still do it to this day. And actually, when I first moved up here, moved up here to Waverly, and I got talking to my pastor, he recommended that I send my testimony to them, and I did, and they actually selected it. So if you go to unshackled.org, and there's a place over there where you can search. If you type in Jon Stewart, y'all can hear my life story presented by these people, and it's real neat. But my whole point of that was, if you listen to those stories, some of those stories are wonderful testimonies, and those people in those stories have went on to do great things for God. Because that was the old them. That was the old them, the one. And y'all know, I tell all the time about, I did drugs and all the stuff I did, but that was the old me. Once you get into the will of God changes you. You're no longer that person. That's what Paul talked about when he said, put off the old man and become the new man. You're no longer that person, but the people around you, they try to keep you in that box of who you used to be. They try to keep you in that same slave mentality, the slave to sin mentality that you used to have. And if you do anything to go outside that box and to try to become a better person, especially for God, they're going to try to tear you down. Because notice what they said. It says when his friends heard about it, they exclaimed, "What?" And that's why I said it like that, because that's how I kind of, what, is Saul a prophet? Who is he? He preaching? You know what I'm saying? I don't know what Saul. I don't really get into Saul's childhood and what kind of person he was, but for whatever reason, you can tell about the language here that they didn't think that he was worthy of being a prophet. See what I'm saying? They didn't think he was. Is he Saul, the son of Cush? Is he a prophet? They didn't think he was worthy of being a prophet. And like I said, I don't know. The only thing I know about Saul's childhood, though, before he got called, he was a humble guy, because the Lord kind of got on him a little later when he turns his back away from the Lord, and he said, before I called you, you were small in your own eyes. In other words, when I first called you, you was humble, but now you've gotten prideful and you've turned your back away from me. But again, it's the people around his friends. His friends is the one that who is Saul, and you got to think about it, the same thing happened to Jesus. Because you remember and that's something Jesus said when he was doing his preaching. He said, I'm the master, you the student. So whatever happens to the master is going to happen to you as well. So that's why I wanted to prepare y'all. That's why I said this will help you endure if you remember this. This is going to happen to you. If you somebody that's had a checker pass, and it might not even necessarily that it was a bad pass, but you may have never been faithful to the church. Like, you might have been that Sunday Christian that pulls the Bible out of here once in a while. Never really been faithful, never really served. You went to church and everything, but you never really served. And then the Lord get a hold of you and you really want to serve and you want to start being faithful. Then they start looking at you funny. They start trying to bring up your past. Like, who are you to go serve the Lord? They make you feel like you're not worthy to serve the Lord. It's going to happen. And it's going to happen from the people that's closest to you. Because again, it happened to Jesus. Let's go over to Matthew 13. I mean, almost word for word, exactly what happened to Jesus. And if you go over to Matthew chapter 13, verses 53 through 58, watch this. Watch what happened to Jesus. So it says, now this was after Jesus had got into the ministry. This is after he had been healing people, doing the preaching for. He had his ministry hadn't really started. He had already started healing people and things of that nature. So this was kind of into his ministry. So first he went out to the foreign lands. Well, not necessarily foreign like Samaria, but he went out to the lands other than his own hometown. So then finally, I'm gonna go home. I'm going to go home and preach to my people and watch what happened. So it said, now when Jesus had finished telling these stories, he left that part of the country and he returned to Nazareth, his hometown. And when he taught there in the synagogue, everyone was astonished and said, where does he get his wisdom and his miracles? He's just a carpenter's son. See, he's a nobody. He's just a carpenter's son. And we know Mary, his mother, and his brothers, James, Joseph, and Simon, and Judas. All his sisters live right here among us. What makes him so great? And they were deeply, look at it, said they were deeply offended and refused to believe in him. Why? Because they felt they knew him. Because he didn't come out the sky, because he was somebody, he was just a kid next door, he can't be special. You know what I'm saying? And really it says when people have that mentality, it says more about them and their mentality and how they view themselves than how they view you. Because they're like, well, I'm a Nazarite, and from what I understand, if you really read through the Bible, Nazareth was like, it was like it was like the hood. It was like it wasn't nothing nice about Nazareth. It wasn't a special place. Not necessarily that it was bad, but it definitely wasn't like the good areas. It wasn't a good neighborhood. It was like it was a little poor city from what I understand. So they like, well, how can somebody from Nazareth, I know I'm in Nazareth, I know I'm poor, how can somebody from Nazareth be anything kind of thing, so that's what it was. They felt that because they knew him, because they knew his origin, because they knew where he was from. And then it says, matter of fact, next line it said, then Jesus told them, a prophet is honored everywhere except in his own hometown and among his own family. And so he did, and watch this, because of their disbelief, says, so he did only a few miracles there because of their unbelief. See, they refused to believe in him because they knew him. They felt they knew him. My phone is already telling me it's about to die, so let me hook this charge up. But that's why he couldn't do nothing for them, because they felt they knew him. And see, and like I said, Jesus himself dealt with that same situation. Give me a second. Get this in there. That was fast. It must not have been as charged as I thought it was. Get it now. Did it? Yeah, that got it. All right, so we should be fine. Shouldn't yell at us no more. It is charging. All right. So again, Jesus himself went through that. And again, why did they refuse to accept him? Why did they refuse to listen to him? Why did they didn't want to hear nothing they said? Because they knew him. So if you got to check a past, you got somebody, like I said, like from my background, or check a past or whatever. Maybe at one point you weren't flying straight. They're gonna reject you because they feel they know you. They don't feel you anything special. So don't let that deter you. You remain faithful. Keep remaining faithful. Jesus didn't say, well, my own people won't listen to me, so I might well just give up. No, he just left. He said, what did he say? He left. He left that area. He didn't do a lot of miracles, and he left. He kept on. He didn't let the ministry didn't stop at all. He just went somewhere else. But see, that's what happens. Because one of the most heartbreaking, and this is something I see, it's actually one of the most heartbreaking part of our ministry. Because, for instance, y'all on here, Miss Tanya, I met you a few months ago. Same with you, Miss Alicia. Y'all on here faithfully. I got over 3,000, right at 3,000 members, Facebook friends. And most of those friends are people that I know personally. I just know a lot of people because y'all know I'm a people person, so I know a lot of people. So when you take that in consideration, I remember even when I thought about getting into this and doing this, I'm like, man, this should be packed on here. I should have, hundreds of views, while I'm doing the live, because all of my friends on here. But yet, most of the people that watch my videos are people that I never really was ever close to. It's people that I never even really knew. And it's weird. It's a weird part of the ministry because y'all on here, because honestly, y'all only know this me. And that's why y'all on here, and I appreciate y'all being here, but y'all only know John the chemist. Y'all only know what I would call, quote unquote, successful John. Y'all know John the chemist, John the minister, John the minister of the lost sheep. Y'all, that's who y'all know, and that's why y'all are here. That's why y'all are here listening. But see, if y'all knew the old John, if y'all knew John and part of my friends, the John that was just a nigga from North Memphis, if y'all knew that John, you might not be on here listening because you knew me. You knew what I was doing back in the day. You knew what I was doing before I gave my life to God. You knew some of the things I did, some of the things that I'm ashamed of today to even talk about. You know those things, so it's going to be hard for you to listen. And that's one of the most heartbreaking part of being in the ministry, especially me, because I love everybody. I love y'all, and I appreciate y'all being on here. I appreciate y'all always listening in. I love y'all to death. So that's another. Ashley, I appreciate you being Miss Ashley. That's another one I met outside when I love her to death. But I can get on here and talk to y'all and bring these lessons, man. And y'all would take what I'm saying. It's like, what I'm saying? It would take what I'm saying and you'll run with it. And you'll use this wisdom giving you to change your life. But the people that I'm closest to, I can't do nothing for them. Because they don't want to hear it because they feel they know me. And that's so heartbreaking. Like I said, I love each and every one of y'all that's on here. Each one of y'all I've spent some time with, talking with, person in person, and of course y'all watch the videos. I love that. Don't get me wrong. That's what I'm saying. But I really wish y'all were just people that I met. You know what I'm saying? Y'all just people that I met out soul winning. Y'all were just people that our paths has crossed. But in the same breath, people that I've spent time with, people that I've lived with for years. I got one cousin that I lived with for years, and now and again, she checks in. But people that I live with, people that I live with for years, people that I raised, my own kids. I don't even know if my own kids watch my videos or not. And that's heartbreaking. There are several people in my family that I'm close to that I absolutely love, and I can't do nothing for because of this reason here. Because those that feel they know you the most will be the one that doubt you the most. Because they know, again, y'all know John the minister. They know John the nigga from North Memphis. So that's why they don't want to listen, because they understand. You know what I'm saying? That's because they think they know me, and because they know me, they can't possibly listen to me because they know the type of person I used to be. They're not allowing me the freedom. They're not allowing me the freedom that God gave me. They're not allowing me the freedom from under those chains of slavery that God gave me to be the new man that God has created me to be. And it hurts, man. It hurts. Like I'll tell you, I can go to a jail, and man, I can go in there and preach, and man, leave out of there. And I've told y'all, and I'm not just saying I can do that. I know I've done it because I've had so many people that have told me, man, you changed my life, man. Listening to you changed my life. And it's been like 3-4 years since COVID, since I've been in the jail, and I've come across guys that's been released since then, and they're doing good. And then one of the main thing, man, because of you. Matter of fact, I had one guy graduated from, he got out of a drug rehab program, graduated, said, hey, man, I need you to be there. I want to, man, listen to your Bible studies is one of the main things that helped me stay on this path to get to where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? Love him to death, brother Eric Cohen. Man, I want you to be there. And people like that. So it's people like that. I can go talk to them all day and help them. But the people that I love the most, not that I don't love y'all, you know what I'm saying? But the people that I know love the most, the people that are actually near and dear to my heart, I can't really do nothing for. It's so heartbreaking. You know what I'm saying? I told y'all my sons. Now my sons ain't bad, but they're not living up to their full potential. They can be doing way more than what they're doing now if they would be willing to listen, but they don't want to listen because I'm dad. You know what I'm saying? They've seen me on my bad days. They know my good days, but they see me on my bad days as well. I got a friend of mine that's actually part of my testimony. Y'all heard me talk about him before. And he's really, I say like a brother, almost like a brother/son, because I was able to be an encouragement in his life. At one point, he was a dropout from high school. He told me the only goal he had was to have sex before he died. As long as he had sex before he died, he was happy, And that just broke my heart. And I started working with this kid. End up going back to school. End up graduating from school with a 4.0 GPA. Went to college, graduated with a 4.0 GPA. I mean, very, very smart and talented guy. But he don't believe in God. He believes in science, quote unquote. He's a smart guy, obviously believes in science. That hurt. I talked to him before, but I can't push it on him. My brother, I got a brother-in-law, love dearly, really good dude. But as a matter of fact, he's the one that introduced me to my wife. He the one who hooked me up with his sister, basically, because he's like, man, you're a good dude. You're trying, you're working hard. You ain't like these folks out here in the streets. Man, I got a sister and I want somebody to take care of her, kind of thing. And he kind of introduced us. So he actually introduced me to his sister. That's how close we were. And yet he's an atheist. And I understand the reason why he had a rough life. He had some stuff that happened to him when he was younger that was unspeakable. And which y'all do, y'all know my story. I went through that as well, and I tried to share that with him and show that how that made him into the man that he is today. He's a wonderful father, wonderful husband, wonderful friend, wonderful guy, but he just had this beef against God because of what happened to him. And you know what I'm saying? So I can take somebody like that that I don't know, don't have a relationship with, and I can come across a person like that, and I can talk to them, share my testimony with them, and change their life through the grace of God. But the very ones that's close to me, I can't. Why? Because of this point. Those that feel they know you the most will be the ones that doubt you the most. They know me too well to listen to me. And it's like an oxymoron kind of thing. You would think that people that know me the most because they knew how I was back in the day and they know how I am now that I'm serving the Lord. So you would think that they would see like, oh man, this gotta be real. Because this dude was a terrible dude back in the day and now look at what he's doing and he's faithful to it. So you would think it would work the opposite way, but it don't. Oh, who is he? You know what they say to Jesus? Oh, who is Jesus? How did he get all this wisdom? You know, how did when the disciples started preaching, ain't they just fishermen? Ain't they even fishing? Didn't they come out? What good come out of Galilee? What good come out of Nazareth? Stuff like that. Doubting them because they knew them. They knew their origins. They knew where they were from. So since I know where you from, matter of fact, since me and you from the same area, you can't be nothing special. Since me and you from the same area, you can't be nothing special. That's basically what they saying. I know you too well. Me and you too close for you to be something special, so why would I listen to you? Me and you from the same, we stayed right next door to each other. But matter of fact, we slept in the same bed. I got a cousin that for years we slept in the same bed. Don't listen to me preach. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you don't want to, or just like I said, don't put no faith in, don't have no trust in me because he knows me. So you got to understand that if you're going to do the work of God, that's going to happen. You know, you won't, that my heart goes out to my people. I love y'all. Don't get me wrong. I love y'all. And I appreciate y'all for being here. I don't want y'all to think like, oh, we just secondhand citizens. That's not what I'm saying. It says, but everybody just on here I've met. People that come across, you know, throughout this journey of life. You know, our paths will cross paths at some point. So I mean, I love you, but it's not the love I have for you ain't the same as the love I have for people that I've actually lived with. Those that I've actually was down in the mud with, so to speak. Those that I've actually grown up with. There's a different kind of love there because we knew each other. So I love helping y'all, but I want to help them even more. But those are the ones I can't help. And it's so crazy. That's the hardest part of my ministry. You know what I'm saying? Because walking in, and that's what you got to understand. You're going to walk in the will of God. It's a lonely road. You know, you think you're going to have a lot of friends and everybody going, oh, he's bringing this goodness. And that's what I thought. I was naive. I'm bringing this goodness to everybody and they're just going to absolutely love me because I'm bringing them the grace of God. I'm talking about the will of God. They're going to love me and it's going to be so great. And I was so sad and mistaken. I really was. You know, and that's what you got to understand. It's a lonely road, but don't stop. Don't stop just because and the crazy part is people will try to use that against you. How you gonna help, this guy out and you can't even, get your son out of trouble, or you can't even get your cousin out of trouble, or you don't even have enough influence on your family. You don't have enough influence on your family. Why should I listen to you kind of thing? They would actually use that against you. And it ain't for your lack of trying. And it's not that you don't have the wisdom to. It's not that you don't even have the power to. It's because they don't have the right attitude towards you. They figure because they know your origin story, because y'all, like I said, because y'all came up in the same house, or y'all came up in the same neighborhood, or y'all slept in the same bed, and they know you and they know exactly where you're from, you can't be special. You can't be special because I ain't special. And that's basically their mentality. We came from the same space. I'm not special, so therefore you can't be special, so therefore I'm not going to listen to you. And that's sad. That's a sad mentality to have, but that's the mentality a lot of people have. You know what I'm saying? That's the mentality a lot of people have, and it keeps them. And that's what Jesus said. He said a prophet is honored everywhere except in his own hometown, amongst his own family and friends. Again, think of Jesus. I remember when Jesus' brother, one time he was preaching, and they said, hey, Jesus, your brother, your mom and your brother is out there and they want to see you. And what did Jesus say? My mother and my brothers, he said, these people, he said, look around. The people that sit here and listen to me and follow my commands, those are my true mother. That's my true mother. Those are my true brothers. And then, and then what does brother say? Oh, he's beside himself. Come on, we're going to take you home. You done lost your mind. You see what I'm saying? Why? Because they doubted him. Because they slept in the same bed. Jesus might have peed on them one night. You know what I'm saying? Little kids pee on themselves at night before they learn body control. He might have peed on them one night. So they look like, how the dude that used to wet the bed sit here talking about he the son of God and he's something special and he's healing people. Who is he? You see? Because they know your origin story, because they know the old you, because they know where you came from, you can't be special. So they're gonna put that block up to where they don't want to listen to you, and that's gonna happen in your ministry. But don't let that discourage you. Because what did Jesus do? Well, like when we read over there in Matthew, he said he left. You know, he did what he could. He did the little bit he could. Like Ms. Alicia, you said, he planted the seeds that he could. He did the little bit that he could. And then he left and went to another area. He said he couldn't even do miracles because they didn't believe in him. They unbelief in him was so strong that he couldn't even do any miracles there. Because if you think about it, if you read every time Jesus did a miracle, what he'd always tell the people when they was here, he said, your faith has made you well. He said, no, the fact that you believed in me is why I had the reason why I had the power to do this. It's your faith in me that gave me the ability to heal you. You know what I'm saying? You basically your faith in me is what really healed you. You know, it's just having faith that I could do it. But see, they didn't have faith in him because they knew him. So that's what you got to understand. Yes, you're going to want to save your family. Yes, you're gonna want to, you're gonna want to bring those that's close to you. You're gonna want to make sure they have the success and they get to enjoy the kingdom of heaven with you. But it's gonna be hard to do. The most awkward times that I've shared the gospel, the most awkward situations that I've been in as far as sharing the gospel and preaching to people and counseling people and trying to help people have a relationship with the Lord, it was always when I was trying to do it with family members. It was just awkward. It was just weird. I remember this one time, one girl that was like my best friend, like a sister to me. I remember one time sharing the gospel with her. It was so awkward. We got through it, but man, it was awkward. It's hard because, again, they know you. So you got to understand that that's going to help you if you understand that concept. Because like I said, the devil try to use that against you. Do you really think you can do the work of God? You can't even get your own brother, saved. You can't even get your own mother to believe in the Lord. You can't even get, your own wife to follow you. How you think you're gonna get some other people to follow you? They try to use that against you. Remain faithful. It happened to Jesus himself, and like I said, Jesus said, "I'm the master, you the student." So if it's gonna happen to me, it's definitely gonna happen to you. So don't let that discourage you from the work. Remain faithful. Just because the people around you ain't being saved by you or being counseled by you or being able to start following the will of God because of the preaching you've been doing just like the others. Just because the people close to you is not doing it, that don't mean you're not being successful. That don't mean you're out of the will of God. It's just to mean that they refusing to believe in you because they know you. So number 7, those that feel they know you the most will doubt you the most. Remember that. That'll help you stay in there. Don't let it down. Because like I said, I look at my boys, and like I said, my kids ain't bad. They ain't in prison or like that. But they ain't doing what I hope they will be doing at this age where they are now. I got two 21-year-olds and a 26-year-old. They ain't doing. They've done some questionable things. They went down paths that I tried to steer them away from. And it makes you like, man, am I really legit? Like, did I do what more could I have done kind of thing? And it's not that. It's not that but like I said, the same situation with some total stranger, I can go in there and talk to them and change their life. So it's like, what gives? And that's what it is, because they know you so well, they doubt you. So number 7, remember that as you get into this ministry, and like I said, the people around you don't seem to follow you, but the strangers will. It's a reason for that. And that is because those that feel they know you the most will doubt you the most. They doubt you because they know you. And they refuse to let you guide them in a direction because they feel they know you so well that they don't have to listen to you because you're none special. Because you cut from the same cloth that they are. You from the same hood, stepping the same way, whatever it is. Because they know you and they know your origin, you can't be special. And again, it says more about their mindset and their mentality than yours. Because they feel because they ain't special, you ain't special. Matter of fact, the next point is going to bring that out a little bit more. So let me jump into the next point. So then it says, so number 7, those that feel they know you the most will doubt you the most. And of course, I'm talking about the will of God, but you can apply this to the outside of spiritual things. You can apply this to if you want to start your own business or trying to be successful, like a world of success. Same thing. You go to somebody and it's like, oh man, I think I can do this, blah, blah, blah. You can't do that. So it happens. So that's number 7. Number 8 is this. So next line, so he says, what is Saul a prophet? How did the son of Kish become a prophet? So again, those were his friends that were saying those things. So then the next line it said, but one of the neighbors responded. So this person actually had some wisdom. So it said, one of the neighbors responded, it doesn't matter who his father is. Anyone can become a prophet. So that is the origin of the saying, is Saul a prophet? So number 8, this is another thing that I see that keeps people from really getting the power of God in their life. This is another thing I see that keeps them from following the will of God with their life. And so you got to be weary of this. You know what I'm saying? So this one right here, this point right here would encourage you to accept His will. And that is this: your heritage doesn't determine your success, your decisions do. Again, y'all get that. Your heritage doesn't determine your success, your decisions do, especially when it's dealing with the things of God. A lot of time we let our heritage, and I see this, and this might be an unpopular opinion, people might get mad at me saying it. I really see this. When I think about this point right here, I really think my people, black people, we are bad about that. We are bad about that. You know what I'm saying? If I carried around all the luggage and the baggage of what my mom and my father did. Y'all know about my story. My mom, both of them on crack, drug addicts, and all that stuff, and just about everybody in my family. Like I told y'all before, everybody I lived with, they either was on drugs, they sold drugs, they was on alcohol, they was alcoholic, rapists, murder. That was what everybody in my family. And it seemed like with that being everybody in my family, that was my only option as well. But I made decisions. I made different decisions. We always talk about breaking the chain, breaking the change, or that's not the word I'm looking for. Breaking the not the pattern. Dang it, it'll come to me in a second. But breaking that pattern, getting out of that. Dang, why I can't think of that. I can see it any other day. I can see it. But breaking the chain, breaking that pattern of bad behavior. Why not be breaking the cycle? That's the word I'm looking for. Cycle. Breaking that cycle. But some of us, we're so stuck in that cycle of, well, you know what I'm saying, that they ain't nothing, everybody I raised around wasn't nothing, so I'm just going to be nothing as well. And like I said, you know what I'm saying, I can't speak for white people, I can't speak for Asian people, I can't speak for Mexicans. Well, I can speak a little bit for Mexican. Yeah, I got it now, Ashley, breaking the cycle. I can't speak a little bit for Mexican, I'm married to one, but you know what I'm saying, but I can personally say, I've seen it time and time again in my community, in my black community. That is bad. That's why we can't get ahead, because of their mentality. We let our heritage determine our success. What my mama did. Matter of fact, if y'all ever watch it was a movie one of my favorite movies back in the day. It was an old movie. It's called The Five Heartbeats. If you ever see it or come across it, watch it. Really good movie. And it's about what it is about this group of black guys, and they was trying to form like a R&B group, kind of like the Temptations almost, and that's kind of the mindset, because it was set back in that time. And this is a fictional story, but it's basically kind of like one of those stories. So these five, and they had formed a singing group, and they was all from the projects or the bad neighborhoods, and they all lived like there was even a scene where it was like 8 guys living in one room, and they was all sleeping in the same bed, almost grown men, So they came from nothing, kind of thing. So they put this group together. And throughout the movie, they kept on working at it, came across a good manager that got them some spotlight, and they end up blowing up. They end up actually becoming like a major hit in America. Like I say, this is fictional, but they become a major hit. So one of the guys, he goes back to his own neighborhood, and his dad is outside. His dad is out hanging on the corners. And if you ever been to a black neighborhood, you see that all the time. Like that was my dad used to do. Just him and a group of his friends, they just pick a corner or a stoop and sit on, and they just sit around drinking and smoking and hood politicking all day. So that's what his dad is doing. And he goes over there, and of course everybody is congratulating. Oh man, his name was Eddie Kane. Old Eddie Kane. And everybody congratulating, oh, Eddie, man, we so proud of you. And, y'all doing so good. And we heard your music on the radio, blah, blah. So then he go to his dad, and he's like, hey, Dad, how you doing? And his dad and I can't remember how the whole conversation went. But his dad basically told him, like, you ain't going to ever be Ish. And he didn't say Ish, but he said, you ain't going to ever be Ish. He said, I ain't Ish, so you ain't going to be Ish. And that was his mentality. That's what he's telling his son. His son is working to come up out of that situation, working to put himself in a better situation. And his dad, the one that's supposed to be his support system, the one that's supposed to lift him up, tell him, this ain't gonna be, he said something to the fact, this ain't gonna last too long because I ain't Ish, so you ain't gonna be Ish. That's what his own dad tell him. And guess what? That member of the group ended up having a rough time. He actually ended up getting kicked out of the group because he was so gone on, like, once the popularity really sunk in, he was so busy chasing women and drinking and drugging that they ended up having to kick him out of the group. And the crazy part about it, I didn't think about it until I started putting this together because I was going to use this example. In the end, he ended up getting clean, getting sober, and like later on, he actually got shot like trying to rob a liquor store. That's how bad he had got. And then like you don't hear nothing from him for the longest. And then later on, like toward the end of the movie, now I hope I won't spoil it for you if you're gonna go watch it. But he ended up being like a song leader in the church and getting his life and giving his life to God. He came across a good woman that took care of him, and she ended up getting him back in church and ended up giving his life to God. Toward the end. But he might not have to go through that had his dad just gave some encouragement. But that's like I said, I see this all the time, and this happens among Christians as well, but I see this all the time among black people. That's why a lot of black people, that's why a lot of hood dudes stay in the hood. Because that's that mentality. My daddy been in the hood, my daddy was a hustler, my brother was a hustler, so I'm going to be a hustler too. And what we do is, when we do that, we're letting our lineage, and we let our past determine our future. And we got to stop doing, you got to stop letting your lineage, I wrote here, stop letting your past lineage determine your future inheritance. Just because your mama did it and your daddy did it and your uncles did it and your cousin did it, that don't mean you got to do it as well. Just because your whole family been on drugs, that don't mean you have to be on drugs. That's something I learned. And I started on that path. I started on that path of doing the drugs and selling the drugs. Y'all know my testimony. But then God came in and showed me like, hey, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that, right? You can do other stuff. You can come in and worship me. And that's the problem. I never knew that was an option. I was talking to somebody the other day. I didn't know serving God was an option. I didn't even think it wasn't an option to me. This is all I knew. All I knew was the drug dealing and the killing and the stealing and the murdering and the robbing. That's all I knew. That's all I had grew up in. So if that's all you know, you think your options are limited, but it's really not. It's really not, but you got to give your heart to God to see those new options. And when God came in and showed me like, hey, man, you don't have to be a drug dealer. You don't have to be a crackhead. You don't have to, be an alcoholic. You can actually be somebody that leads people out of those things. And I'm like, well, thank you, God. I appreciate you showing me that because I did not know because I was following my lineage. I was doing, they always say, they got that saying, the apple don't fall far from the tree. And that's true, to a sense. That's true, to a sense. Because with my oldest son, y'all know he's not biologically mine, but I've raised him since he was 3, he's 26, so he's mine in my heart, But a lot of stuff he does that his daddy does. He got a lot of the same characteristics that his dad do. Even though his dad has never really been in his life. I've been with my wife, like I said, since he was 3 and he's 26. His dad has never been around, but yet he still has some of those traits. It's certain things that is inherited. So it is true that the apple don't fall far from the tree. That is true. But when you get God involved, it can still produce better fruit than that tree had produced before. You can still produce a much sweeter fruit. That's what you gotta understand. You don't have to be that same bitter piece of fruit, that same number. You don't have to grow up and be another tree that produces bitter fruit. You don't have to do that. You can produce sweet. Yeah, you might not fall far from the tree. You might be from the same tree, but your fruit can be better. And that's what the Lord showed me. I don't have to keep on producing this bitter fruit. I don't have to keep on being this horrible person because my dad was horrible and because my mom was horrible and because all my uncles were horrible and because all my cousins were. I don't have to be horrible. I can choose otherwise. But you got to have God involved. And that's the difference. Once you get God involved. And that goes for successful people as well. I've been around people, I'm a chemist. I'm a chemist. Y'all know me, my job, my profession, or whatever. I'm a chemist, and I've come across doctors and I come across, lawyers and I come across police officers and all that. And I can tell how many times I talk to somebody, dad is a doctor, mom is a doctor, granddad is a doctor, the great-great-great-granddad is a doctor. So, I'm obviously going to be a doctor. Stop letting your lineage, and you might like, well, that's not a bad thing being a doctor. What if that's not what God wants you to be? What if God wants you to be a preacher? I always thought I wanted to be a doctor. That was because again, coming from the hood, what's the greatest thing you can be? A doctor, either a basketball player or a football player or a doctor, or a rapper. Those are the only things we seem to know about in the hood, So that's why I went to school to study chemistry because I didn't want to be a chemist. I wanted to be a doctor. That's what I wanted to be. And then God showed me hey, you can finish school and all that. That's good, he said, but there's nothing greater you can do in this world. If you really want to heal people, because that's what doctors are supposed to do. If you really want to heal people, you need to start healing their spirits. And the only way you're going to heal their spirits, tell them about me. See, what I'm doing here is I'm not only saving lives. Doctors can save lives. Not only can I save lives, if people will really listen and take what I'm saying into account, not only will it save your life, it'll save your soul as well. And that's the key. Because the doctors, they can keep somebody alive. Okay, let's say a man gets shot and this the most professional doctor or the smartest doctor ever, like Dr. House. I don't know if y'all used to watch House MD. I used to watch this show back in the day. And he comes in and he does this magnificent surgery and save this person's life. Even if he does that, what he gonna get another say is the person 40, 50 years old. He might get another 30 years, but he's still gonna die. He's still gonna die. He gonna get 30, 40 years tops. Whereas if you do something for God and you help somebody spiritually, guess what? That lasts forever. That's something that's gonna last forever. So stop getting wrapped up in, well, my mom's a doctor, my dad's a doctor, so I got to be a doctor. My mom's a lawyer, my dad's a lawyer, I got to be a lawyer. My dad's a drug dealer, my mom's a drug dealer, my uncle's a drug dealer, so I got to be a drug dealer. You know, the family taking over the family business. How many people y'all know that and that's what they doing? Because that's what the family do. You know, you don't have to be there. I had a friend of mine, he's kind of getting back toward it, but his granddad was a pharmacist. There's a real famous pharmacy down in Memphis, Tennessee called Champions Pharmacy. And they specialize in like herbal medicine. Instead of like the chemical medicine, he specializes in herbal medicine. And man, from what I heard, this man can make you a concoction and it is, getting with a kick, whatever you got going on, kick his butt, So, of course, the whole family, and it's a family business. Family ran for years. I think something like 30, 40 years, 50 years, maybe even longer than that. It's been a long time. If you've been to Memphis or know Memphis, you know about Champions Pharmacy. And I'm friends with the grandson, So, of course, he went to school, and man, he's a chemist too, because he started studying chemist because that's what he's expected to be. The whole family pharmacist. So he's going to have to be a pharmacist too to keep the family lineage going. And he got in and he started like, man, you know what? I don't necessarily want to do this pharmacy stuff. And I remember like, man, what? Your whole friend. And he was just like, man, that ain't from me. I think I'm gonna do something else. I don't want to do this pharmacy stuff. And like I said, Champions Pharmacy is famous. If you know anything about Memphis, you know about Champions Pharmacy. Famous out there on off Elvis Presley, making whoop ups and stuff. So you expect his grandson to do the same thing. To take over the heritage, and that's our problem. We get stuck in this box. And like I said, I can't speak for every race, but black people, we're bad about that. And we're bad about that. We get stuck in this box. You do anything outside this box, then you're no longer black. So like me, if they listen, if my folks knew the music that I listen to now and heard me, riding down the road, and I be bumping it too. I don't even be ashamed of it. I be bumping. I don't do it when I'm in Memphis, but up here, I be riding around with the music blaring. They were like, man, he white now. They'll say something like that. And I'm about as hood as they come. If there was a checklist of, 12 things that you have to check off to be hood, I guarantee I have at least 10 of them. I'm about as hood as they come. But I got outside that box. I'm not letting my past lineage determine my future inheritance. And that's what a lot of times we do, and it keeps us out of the will of God. Because, and like I said, we have the old Eddie Kane mentality. I ain't ish, so you ain't going to be ish. I couldn't believe when I saw that movie, and I thought about that when I was putting this together. I saw that movie. Like I said, one of my favorite movies is called The 5 Heartbeats. His son is doing good. They didn't form the group, and they're blowing up, and he goes back to just get some a little, he want to hear his dad say, son, I'm proud of you. And his dad goes over, oh, it ain't going to last. I ain't ish, so you ain't going to be ish. And that's what we do. And a lot of time, because of their mentality, that we can't get out of this box, because of the mentality, we got our little parameters that we have to stay into. It keeps us from growing, especially when it comes to things of the Lord. And that's why, they got offended here. It says when Saul, his friends heard about it, so the people that knew him, they exclaimed, what, is Saul a prophet? How did the son of Cush become a prophet? What I'm saying? Like, he ain't nobody. Who is he? How he gonna become a prophet? He ain't nobody. Look at who his dad is. His dad ain't ish, so how can he be anything? You see what I'm saying? And then, but one wise person said, hey, it don't matter. It doesn't matter who his father is. Anyone that can become a prophet. So that is the order of saying, is Saul a prophet? So that's why I give y'all for number 8. For number 8, your heritage doesn't determine your success. Your decisions do. If you want to be successful, if you want to get out of that box, if you want to get out of that cycle, you want to break that cycle, you want to do something for God in your life, then just start making the decision that you want to. You don't have to, like I said, you can, yeah, the apple might not fall far from the tree, but you can have sweeter apples than your dad did. You can have sweeter apples than your granddad did. You don't have to walk around with that same bitterness that they've been walking around for years, holding them down, keeping them from being successful. You don't have to let that baggage hold you down. Put that stuff away. Make the decision that you need to make. Give it to God. Give it to God. Like I said, I'm a chemist. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I would love it. Now, if my kids want to be that, I want to be a chemist like you. Okay, I'm gonna tell you what you need to do. I'm gonna help you study. I'm gonna tell you what class to take. You know, I play football, and of course, any man that got a son that plays football and got a son that plays football, you want your son to play football. I mean, you want that. But I never push, and y'all know my son. I talk about it all the time. He's a phenomenal football player. I never pushed it on him. I took him one time. They had a flag football league. We were living in Murfreesboro, and they was almost in junior high before I even had them start. Because some people here, they start as soon as they like 4 or 5 years old, they already on the field because their parents is pushing it at them kind of thing. I didn't do it with my kids. I waited till they was old enough, and I asked them one time. I said, "Hey, y'all, there's a flag football league up here. Y'all want to play?" And they said, "Why not? You know, just check it out." And man, they got on the field, and them natural juices just kicked in, and they loved it. They loved it. They played football from that moment. They played, and I didn't even know how good they was gonna be. My sons, I ain't gonna lie, I ain't too proud to say it, man. They way better than I ever was on the field. You know what I'm saying? I was a beast on the field, but they way better than I ever was. Maybe because they was a little slimmer. You know, they were the slimmer version of me. You know what I'm saying? They was John 2.0. But I never pushed it on them though. I never said, "Oh, y'all my son, I'm known," because I went to school to play. I went to college to play football. I got all kind of accolades, all Metro and all that stuff from playing football. So I never said, "Y'all got to do this." I never put my trophies in this. What y'all got to do? No, if you want to play, you can play. And I asked them, "Do would y'all like to try?" They say, "Yeah." I never pushed anything. My only rule for my kids, with whatever they did, you have to put your all into it, and there's no quitting. There's no quitting. My daughter, to show you, because of course all my boys end up playing football, and of course my oldest daughter, who's graduating Friday, I'm not gonna cry. But she even played football for 2 years. Like I said, we moved up here. They had junior pro. She played football for 2 years. You know, and I never said you got to play football, but I remember she wanted to play football because I played football and because her brothers played football. But she didn't realize how much it goes into playing football. She thought you just get out there doing the game and run around. She didn't realize you got to practice 3-4 days a week before you even get to the game. And you got to do that for 6-7 weeks before the season even starts. So she was trying to quit. And I had told her, I said, "Look, once I pay this money for this insurance and once I buy this equipment, it ain't no quit. Oh, Dad, I want to play. The first day on the field, y'all, no, I'm about to die, Dad. I can't do it. I said, "Too late now, baby. I done paid my money, signed them papers." And so, like the first 2 weeks, the only way I can get her to run her laps and do what she need to do, I had to do them with her. You know, but about 2-3 weeks in, she finally got used to it and understood it. And man, by the end of the season, she loved it. And matter of fact, the next year, she asked me to go back and play again. She asked me, "Dad, can I play football this year?" "Sure, baby." I didn't force it on her, and she wanted to play, and that finished up her junior pro, and she wanted to play when she went to the junior high, but the coach kind of discouraged her. He didn't want to have no girl on the team, because he's like, "Man, we got to do all this and that," and that kind of broke my heart, because she really wanted to play, but, you know what I'm saying, but the coach kind of discouraged her, so she stopped playing. But I didn't say, "No, you're going to play football, we're going to take them to court." No, she's like, "Dad, I kind of don't get the vibe you want me to play, so I'm not going to play." I didn't say those. I like, "Baby, sure." Say, "Now I'm going to do something else." And she ended up doing playing basketball, and then she ended up doing being a basketball trainer for a little while. I didn't push in. I didn't say, "Well, I'm playing football. You got to play football too." I never put that on my kids. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want them their future determined by my past, and that's what a lot of times we do. We let our past determine our future, and we just keep on going in the same cycle, and then we wonder why we're not getting anywhere. So number 8, your heritage does not determine your success. Your decisions do. You want to break this cycle, you want to do something more, you want to have more out of your life, then just start making different decisions. Stop doing the same things that everybody else doing because your dad and your mama did because your dad and your mama do it. You don't have to be the same person. You don't have to walk their path of your life. You know what I'm saying? Again, even with successful stuff, you know, the lawyer, doctor, that stuff sounds good, but a servant of God, a preacher, is way more valuable to this world than a lawyer is. You know, a preacher is way more valuable in this world than a doctor is. And like I said, and I'm not saying that doctor's not valuable. I'm not saying lawyer's not valuable. But a man of God is way more valuable. So stop letting people pigeonhole you and put you in this box and make you think because our family is known for this thing, because our family has been in the sugarcane business, you got to be in the sugarcane business. Because our family, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to let your heritage, your past heritage, determine your future inheritance. You can do something different, especially if it's dealing with the will of God. So number one for tonight, or number 7 for this week, those that feel they know you the most will doubt you the most. And then point number 2 is your heritage doesn't determine your success or your decisions do. You don't have to keep following that same cycle. You don't have to have that Eddie Kane dad mentality. I ain't ish, so you ain't ish. No, you can be something. You just got to make sure God is involved. And that's what was happening here. They were trying to doubt Saul because of who his daddy was and because of who he was. And this man said, no, it don't matter who you are. If you in the will of God, if God got something for you, you can do that other thing. So that was number 8. Your heritage doesn't determine your success, especially when it's dealing with the things of God. Your decisions do. So number 9, I'm doing good, y'all. I'm on point number 3 already. I'm doing good. So the next line it says in verse 13 says, now when Saul had finished prophesying, he climbed to the hill to the altar. When Saul had finished prophesying, he climbed the hill to the altar. Where in the world have you been? Saul's uncle asked him. So number 9 is this. This is something else that'll help you. It'll help you be faithful. It'll help you endure. This is a mindset you need to have. Number 9 is this. Don't let the world make you feel guilty about following God's will. Don't let them guilt trip you about following God's will. Because what are some things that we've been talking about that's going to happen when you start following God's will? What I say, 1, it's going to change you. It's going to change you. 2, it's going to separate you from some things. You're not going to hang around the same people that you used to hang around. You're not going to do the same thing that you used to do. So what the world will do is try to guilt trip you. Your friends, they don't see you no more. You even where y'all used to hang out every night and get drunk and do this, now you're not hanging out as much. You know what I'm saying? Or you might not even be hanging out at all. So they ain't seen you where at first they saw you just about every day or every weekend. Now it's been a month since they seen you. It's been a couple of months since they seen you because you done got busy doing the work of God. And what do people do when they say, man, hey stranger, man, I ain't even know you existed. I ain't know you still existed. I thought maybe you died or something. What they trying to guilt trip you because you're not coming around no more. Don't let the world do that to you. No, don't let the world do that to you. They'll try to do that because they want you to guilt trip. They want you to come back to them. They want you to come back to them. You now realize that, hey, God has something better for me. God has something, and it's not that. And they were, you think you're too good to hang out with us now? You think you're too good to do this now? No, it's not that I'm too good. I've moved on from that. The path that God has for me is taking me in a different direction. I no longer have time for this thing. There's going to be things that you used to have, that you used to love to do. There's going to be, if you're going to serve the will of God, there's going to be things that you used to love to do that you just no longer have time for. You don't have time for it no more. It's not that you feel you better than anybody else. It's not that you feel that you're more special than anybody else. You just no longer have time for those things. Especially like stuff like, like I was talking about earlier, football. I used to love football. You know what I'm saying? It was football. When football season came up, man, I couldn't wait for football season to come up. I was sitting and watch the college games all Saturday, watching college games. And then Sunday, I watched the NFL games and get with my buddies and we talk and all this. I don't have time. I can't tell you. I can't tell y'all the last time I watched a game. I think the last time I watched a game, and it wasn't even that I watched the game. I just happened to be somewhere where the game was on, and that was back the Super Bowl last year. And that's because my wife's brother was in town. My in-laws was in town, and they wanted a place to meet where we can kind of central place to meet. So we went and met down in Nashville, and it was like a Buffalo Wild Wings. So of course the game was on. I thought, well, was it Outback? Wherever it was at, it was one of those kind of those chain restaurants, and the game was on. And you know what I'm saying? Of course, we were talking and then, eating and everything. So we weren't, talking the whole time. So when we won, I was just kind of watching the game. I got to see the second half of the Super Bowl. But as far as me actually sitting down, going to my TV, scrolling to my TV to find a game to watch, I haven't done that in years. And I love football. Anybody know me know I'm a Packers fan. I love the Packers, and I also love the Titans as well. Anybody know me knows that. I love them both. Usually once every year I go to a game. I ain't been to a game in a couple of years. Matter of fact, but speaking of, with my boy Ant, I think the last game I've been to was me and Ant went together. Took him out to a game. It's been years since I've been to a game. Why? It's not because I'm above the NFL or I'm so special now or that's beneath me. It's because I just don't have time for it no more. And if you're going to serve the will of God, there's going to be some things you're not going to have time for. You may be a big hunter. I know in this area where I stay at, these boys around here, they love them some hunting. They love some hunting. You know what I'm saying? They get up 4 in the morning just to go sit in a tree and hope something fast by so they can shoot in his butt. They love it. You know what I'm saying? They've been trying to give me the nope. Why? I don't have time for it. I don't have that kind of time to get up early in the morning just to go out and hope something come by just so I can shoot it. I don't have time for it no more. It's not that I'm better than them, I'm smarter than them. I just don't have time for it because I'm following the will of God for my life. And that's what they try to do. They try to make you, you know what I'm saying, with anything, drinking, you know what I'm saying, smoking, drugs, partying, hooking up with girls or boys, whatever it is. Whatever it is that you used to do all the time, you used to love to do. But now you don't love it no more. Because what happens, you change what we've been talking about since we've been talking about this will of God. There's going to be a change there. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be a separation that comes. And that's why the separation comes. It's not necessarily because you just put them off. And like I said, it's not necessarily you put them off because it's a bad thing. It's just you no longer have time. You understand now your time. And I've told people this before. And y'all probably heard me say it before. Our most precious resource is our time. As a human being. The most precious resource that we have as a human being is our time. Why? Because when it's gone, you can't get it back. And nobody knows how much they have. I would love to say that I'm going to live to 80, but I might not. I might not live to 80. I might not live to next week. I might not live to tomorrow. I might not live through this sermon. I might be here and y'all be like, well, on something y'all like, man, Brother John fell asleep. No, he dead. I don't know. So this is our most precious resource. And the closer you get to God, the more you get into God's will, the more you see how important it is for you to manage your time better. And you realize like, man, I used to spend so much time doing this. I look back now that I'm married, you know what I'm saying? That's something like, you when you get into another position, a different position or different situation, you start kind of looking back on stuff. And now that I'm married, I look back on my life like, man, I can't believe how much time I spent chasing women. You know what I'm saying? Now that I no longer smoke weed, I look back at it like, man, I can't believe how much time, how did I even have that time to smoke the weed and do what I was doing? And to be honest, I really didn't. There was things that I should have been doing that I wasn't doing. That's why I had that time. You see what I'm saying? And that's what you got to understand. The more you mature in your relationship with the Lord, the closer you get to the Lord, the more you're going to start looking at your time. And you're going to start realizing these things going to start coming out of getting these things out of your life because you're going to start realizing, like, I don't have time for that no more. Same with people. I don't it's certain people that I love to death. I don't have no bad blood, between them. Nothing happened, you know what I'm saying? But I don't spend time with them like I used to. Dear friend of mine, you know what I'm saying? That I remember we spent time, we kicked it every single day. We worked together every day. Matter of fact, I would come home late because I would hang out with, but that was our thing. So we go to work, we work the same place, we get our work, and we went and hung out to either smoked or drank or went to a bar. We did something every single day. Hung together every single day. Now, for the last 6 years, I think I might have seen him 2-3 times over the last 6 years. And again, we didn't have no falling out. We didn't get into an argument or fighting. It's just that I started realizing I didn't have time to hang with this person no more because God's will was taking me in one direction and it was taking him in another direction. And that's what you got to understand. But when you do that, when you start really realizing, you start maturing and you get close to your relationship, the world is going to try to make you feel guilty for that. Why? Because you're getting closer to God and it doesn't want that. It doesn't want you getting closer to God. So anything it can do to bring you back closer to it, it will do. And including make you feel guilty. Oh man, you don't call me no more. You don't hang out no more. You don't text me no more. You ain't got time. No, I don't. Family members, like I say, it's people that I love dearly. My dad, my brother, my cousins, close friends, is people that I love dearly that I just don't have time to be. Now, if they need something, of course, my phone's always on, or I might put on silent if I'm sleeping or something. My phone's always on. My door's always open. You need something, I will be there for you. But as far as us spending time together, doing stuff that we used to do, I don't have that time no more. I remember one of the people that had that still to this day have the hardest concept of this is my brother. And I know I'm talking about family, my brother, my younger brother. And y'all know, of course, you know my testimony, y'all know I raised him. And for a while, it was me and him. You know what I'm saying? It was me and my brother. We did everything together. You know, but as we matured, we got older, we started growing apart. That's what life does. It pulls you apart. You know what I'm saying? You know, because God got a will for me and he got a will for him. You know, and my will and the direction I was going in for the will that God had for me was not the same direction that he was going in. So I had to separate. Man, to this day, he like, matter of fact, you know, him and my wife do not get along because he blames my wife for taking me from him to this day. And I mean, he said it in a while. He said it before. He said it in a while. But I know him, and I know to this day he still blames my wife for taking me from him. And it had nothing to do. It had nothing to do with my wife that me and him don't hang out anymore or spend time like we used to. And it has everything to do with the will of God, the will of God for my life. Because he still like to do ignorant stuff. He still like to do childish stuff. He still like to drink and smoke all the time. He got kids that he ain't really taking care of. To be quite honest, he got 3 or 4 kids that he's not really taking care of, doing bare minimum, paying a couple of million. He pay child support, but he don't even pay that on time sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So, but he blames me for not. But I'm like, you're not. We're not on the same path any longer. It has nothing to. Like I said, I still love my brother. I raised him as my own kid. You know what I'm saying? He still called me from time to time for help, and I help him. But we don't spend time like we used to. We don't always talk like we used to. Like I said, we used to talk every single day. And the reason why is because when you really get into the Word of God and we really get into following the will of God, like I said, there's going to be some change there. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be some change. And the reason why that change is happening is because you're growing. See, getting saved is just the first step in your relationship with the Lord. That's why I said this lesson is so important. Getting saved is the first step, following his will. And now that's when the true challenges come in. And when you get to doing it, when you get to that point that you want to follow the will of God, once you get to that point of your heart, not just out of conviction because I said you should be doing it, but when you really get to that moment where you really want to follow the will of God, that's a sign of your maturity in your relationship with the Lord. You're growing. You're no longer a baby Christian. You're growing into a Christian man or a Christian woman, a mature Christian. And what happens when it happens? You're going to leave something behind. Matter of fact, you go to 1 Corinthians, what does it say? Paul said this. He said in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11, he says this. He said, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. So see, when you make the decision that you're going to follow the will of God, you're going to follow with your whole heart, guess what? You start to become a man. Or you start to become a woman in the eyes of Christ. Not that you already a man, like, as far as age now, but I'm saying in the eyes of Christ, as far as your Christian maturity is what I'm talking about. You start to become, you're no longer a child. You're no longer. Paul also talks about being a baby in Christ. You no longer have to be fed with milk. You don't have to. No, the preacher don't no longer have to step around, tiptoe around you, worry about saying something that you're gonna be offended, because he knows that now that you're mature, you know if it's truth, it's truth. If I need to stop it, I need to stop doing it. If I need to start doing it, I need to start doing it. You know what I'm saying? Anybody that's watched these videos, I have to believe that y'all are mature Christians. That if you're watching the whole video, that's the only way you be survive. This whole hour and a half, 2 hours that I'll be running my mouth the whole time. Because you're maturing, that's why you're here. You know what I'm saying? And not only do you realize the need for this, you actually want it. And because of that, you know what I'm saying? Where right now, normally on Monday nights about this time, Monday, this primetime TV. So normally Monday nights, you're watching a game or you watching your favorite show or whatever, you here watching me. Why? Because you're maturing. And because you're mature, you no longer have time for those childish things. And that's why I tell my brother, the stuff that you still do, brother, that's childish. We've done that. We had years of doing it. We had years of hooking up with every girl we wanted to. We had years of smoking weed every day. We had years of drinking beers and we partying all the time. It's time to move on to something else. It's time to mature. You got to mature, but you want to say the same. And that's what happened with me. I'm always trying to mature. I know, and y'all might be like, man, you the minister and you be spitting that fire and all that, and that's good. But I know I'm nowhere near where I could be or where I should be. Honestly, when I think of how good God has been to me and the goodness of God, I'm nowhere near where I should be. So, and I know it's because I still got maturing to do, but as you mature, you're going to start putting away those childish things. And that's why, and they're going to, like I said, the word, when you start putting them things away, the word, they're going to try to make you feel guilty about it. Oh, you can't stop by and say hello no more. You ain't got to. And my brother be like, man, you ain't got time. Like, bro, you don't realize how busy my schedule is. And I tell people all the time, I say, from the moment I wake up in the morning and to the moment I go to bed at night, I'm doing something the entire day. The entire day. You know what I'm saying? It's on the only section of my time. Matter of fact, the amount of sleep I get each night is never the same. The amount of sleep I get each night is from me just saving time, getting stuff done during the day. It's time that I salvage from my day. That's how much sleep I get. Some nights, like last night, I only got like 4 hours of sleep last night because I was that busy yesterday. It was Mother's Day. We had family over, and that's the night I do my budget. We had church twice. Yesterday was a busy day. So by the time I went to church twice, I had my grandkids over for the weekend. My wife's family came over we grilled down for Mother's Day. Had the Mother's Day dinner last night. I mean, by the time all they got done, and then I had to get everybody out. I had to get my Bible reading in. Like I said, went to church twice, got my budget done. By the time I got all that done, it was 5 o'clock in the morning. And I had to be at work at 10:30. So I only got like 4 hours of sleep. You see what I'm saying? I didn't have time for no foolishness. Excuse me, y'all. Sorry. That's one of the things. I love my wife to death. Thank God, been able to be faithful. We've been married almost 20 years coming up. But honestly, the main reason I don't cheat is not that. Not that I'm just a good. Not that I ain't think about it. I don't have time for it. I really don't have time to have another woman in my life. I really don't have time to deal with drama in my life. I don't have time for it. You see what I'm saying? And that's what happens. The closer you get to God, the more you do for God, the more you get in the will of God, the less of this world, the less of foolishness, the less of childish things you're going to have time for. That's going to happen. So don't let them guilt trip you because you no longer have time for their foolishness. Because the world will try to do that. Oh, you think you better than me now. You can't come out and have a drink with me now. You know what I'm saying? Because like me, I don't drink at all no more. I don't drink at all. I don't take no celebratory shots. It's no Father's Day. No, I don't drink at all. I don't smoke at all. It's been 6 years since I smoked. Can't believe I'm saying it. Been over 6 years since I smoked weed. Since weed have touched dying lips. It's been over 6 years. I don't know how long because I've never been a drinker, but I used to drink socially. Go out all the way at the bar, go get us some hot wings, somebody grab me a beer. I never was a drinker, but I grab a beer here and there. I can't tell you the last time I had alcohol touch my lips. Why? I don't have time for it. Like I said, when I look back in my life and when I was smoking weed and what it took to go get the weed but y'all know I'm a talker. I'm always a social person. So whenever I went and got my weed, me and my weed people was always cool. So I ended up sitting there smoking, matching one with them. If y'all smoke weed, y'all know what I'm talking about. Man, let's match one real quick. So heck, just the ordeal of going and get the weed was a 2-3 hour ordeal. And then I got to go, especially like when I had moved in this area and I was still smoking, the place that I was getting the weed from was like an hour and a half away. So I got an hour and a half to get there. Then I'm going to spend an hour and a half when I get there because we're matching one and sitting around town or whatever. Then I got another hour and a half to get back home. That's 5-6 hours going to my day. How did I have that time? And you know what? I really didn't have that time. There was work that I could have been doing for God that I wasn't doing. And that's why I say as you mature, that's why the separation comes. As you mature, you're gonna separate naturally. Some of it you might have to just do hey, I can't mess with you no more kind of thing, especially if it's people that are still living their worldly life and doing those bad things. Some of that's gonna happen, but some of it's gonna be just the fact that you just don't have time. God's will is gonna separate you from the world naturally. If you really living for His will, if you really trying to put in the work, you really doing what He has for you to do, you're not going to have time to do these worldly things. Heck, sometimes I don't even have time to do the godly stuff. Y'all, so some of these times I be late on here. Y'all remember last couple of weeks ago I couldn't do this because we was moving. I just don't have time because when I look at my day, I've told y'all before, I look at my day, I know what I'm saying, putting my time together, the stuff of God that's in there. And there's nothing going to sway that. There's nothing, unless it's absolutely mercy. Like I was moving a couple of weeks ago, I just didn't have the time to do it. But for the most part, those are stationary in my day. So when all this other little stuff come up, like, hey man, can you go do this? Nah, I got preaching tonight. I can't do it tonight. Hey, can we go watch this? Nah, I can't do that tonight. I got Bible study and I got lost sheep tomorrow night. Don't have time for it. So that's going to happen. As you mature in your relationship with the Lord, as you get close to the Lord, as you have that deep desire to want to serve the Lord and be close to the Lord, there's going to be a lot of stuff that you're not going to have time for. There's not going to be a lot of worldly things that you're not going to have time for no more. There's going to be a lot of worldly people that you're going to don't have time for no more. That's natural. That's a natural part of the process. Don't let the world or those people make you feel guilty because you don't come around like you used to. Don't let them make you feel guilty because you don't hang out like you used to. Don't let them make you feel guilty because you don't like to do the things that you used to like to do. That's part of the process. If you're really going to serve the Lord, it's going to happen. So number 9, don't let the world make you feel guilty about following God's will. You know what I'm saying? They'll hit you with the guilt trip. They'll hit you because they hit you with that, hey, how you doing, stranger line, because they want to guilt you into staying close to the world than getting closer to God. Don't let that happen. So number 9, don't let the world make you feel guilty about following God's will. Like I said, as you get closer to God, as you mature, as you become a man, a true man of God or woman of God, it's going to happen. And I'm going to end at this point with reading 1 Corinthians 13:11 again. When I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. So if you want to become a man, you want to become a man of Christ, you want to become a woman of Christ, put those childish things away and don't feel bad about doing so. Because guess what? You no longer have the time for that foolishness. You on the will of, you trying to do the will of God. You trying to get what God wants you to be. You trying to have true success in this world. And the only way you're going to do is step away from those childish things. So number 9, don't let the world make you feel guilty about following God's will. So the next level, I'm look like I'm going to make it, y'all. I'm right at an hour and a half and I got my last point. So then he said, so when Saul finished the prophesying, he climbed up to the altar. And again, he said, no, and the reason why I came up with that point, because he said, where in the world have you been? Saul's uncle asked him. So you can tell he was like, where you been? You know, making him feel guilty about taking so long. You know, and then Saul told him, he said, we went to look for the donkeys. Saul replied, but we couldn't find them. So we went to the prophet Samuel to ask him where they were. Now that's a reference back. If y'all remember when we did chapter 9, we first when Saul went first and looking for Samuel, that was a reference back to that point from chapter 9, and that point was be sure you go to God and sincerely request He show you His will. And you remember that was the point I made when we in chapter 9 that story, because you remember they was looking for the donkeys, they couldn't find them, and Saul's servant was like, hey, when we go to the man of God and see if he can tell us where they at. So the point I made there was be sure to go to God and sincerely request that He show you His will. You know, and I told you that that's the very, honestly, if you're trying to find God's will for your life and you're trying to be the will of God, you're trying to have that close relationship with God, the first thing you need to do is go to God and ask Him to show you His will. That's the very first thing you should do. So that's a ref. I'm not going to re-preach that. If you want to see what when I preached it originally, go back and watch the lesson from chapter 9. I think it was lesson number 2 from chapter 9. Go back and watch that lesson. But that's just a reference back to that. Be sure you go to God and sincerely request He show you His will. So that's what he did. He told him. So that's what he basically told his uncle. Man, I needed to find the will of God for my life, and I went to the prophet so he can guide me in the direction. So then to finish it up, the last 2 verses, and we're gonna finish up here. He said, so what did he say? His uncle asked, and he said the donkeys had and said, what did he say? His uncle asked. Now this is Saul replied, and in verse 16 he said the donkeys had been found. Saul replied, but Saul didn't tell his uncle that Samuel had anointed him to be king. That's pretty wise there. That's pretty wise. Did y'all catch what he did? I'm going to read it again because I kind of flubbed it a little bit. He said, what did he say? His uncle asked. And he said the donkeys had been found. Saul replied, but Saul didn't tell his uncle that Samuel had anointed him to be king. Catch that? There's some wisdom there. That's some wise thing. That's a wise thing that Saul did, and we should do the same thing. So number 10, final point for the night, and this will help you also stay faithful. Everyone, this is something you need to understand. Everyone is not going to be happy about God's will for you. So be careful who you share it with. Everybody ain't going to be happy about your dreams. Everybody ain't going to be happy about your success. Everybody ain't going to be happy about the good things that God has for you. They're not going to be happy about it. So make sure you watch who you tell. Watch telling people your dreams. You know, that's something I had to learn the hard way. You know, especially me being a big guy. You know, how many times, though, I've always wanted to lose weight over the years. I mean, my entire life I've been fat. So, my entire life I've been trying to lose weight. So, some people, what you doing? Oh, man, I'm losing weight. I'm doing it. Well, you ain't going to lose no weight. You ain't going to, whatever. You know, they kill your dreams. Keep your dreams to yourself. Keep your stuff to yourself. When you got some task that you need to do, especially in the will of God, keep it to yourself, because everybody ain't going to be happy. Because God's will for your life is going to be different from God's will for my life. And God's will for my life is going to be different from God's will from everybody else's life. God has a different will for everybody. And God's will for my life might be to put me in a great position. You know what I'm saying? A high position, where it might be to put you in a low position. You never know what God's will is. And they can hate you, or they can be jealous of you, because the will that God has for your life is better than the will that He has for their life. You know what I'm saying? And it shouldn't make a difference, because if you read Romans 8:28, it says that all things work together for good to them that love the Lord, and to them who are called according to His purpose. So really, no matter what God's will have you doing, it's going to work out for good in the end for His kingdom. Maybe not for yourself, but for His kingdom. So it shouldn't matter. But to some people, it do. Some people get envious. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all heard me say before, when I look at my ministry, I got 3 people that I can see right here. Might be more, but on the 3 is displaying three little profiles or whatever. And I might get 100 views on here, and I know I'm spitting this fire. You know what I'm saying? And then I just be scrolling through, and I see somebody else post, and they got thousands of views or something. It's easy to get envious of that, but I understand that's not God's will for me. God's will for me is to talk to my 3 or 4 people that I got in here. You know what I'm saying? I know it's His will, because they hear every week. Miss Alicia, you hear every week, being tortured by my onslaught of words. Miss Tanya, you hear just about every week, whether you come in the beginning or later. You usually pop in at some point. So that's my God's will for me. So, but everybody don't think like that. And everybody's not going to be happy to see God's will for your life. Especially if it's going to put you in a position where it looks like you're being more successful than them, or you get more accolades than them, or you get, you getting more than they have. Your life is easier than their life. They're not going to like it. You have to be careful. You have to be, because you got to think about Saul. Why when Saul tell his uncle? You got to understand something. There has never been an official. There was one time there was a king. If you go back a little further, there was a guy that proclaimed himself king, but he was on a king of like this one little clan in the nation of Israel. But an actual official king, there has never been a king of Israel. That's like if all of a sudden, Donald Trump come out next week and say he's going to be king of the United States. Well, you lost your freaking mind. You see what I'm saying? Because why? There's never been a king in the United States. So for Saul to say, oh, well, he told me I'm going to be king, they would have laughed him to scorn. They would have told him he done lost his rapping mind. They already got upset because he was prophesying. When he was prophesying the few verses before, they got upset because he was prophesying. So imagine how they would have felt if he told them that he was about to be king. They was going to hate on him. They might even try to kill him. You know what I'm saying? We see a situation in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to think, man, he was going to be the first king of Israel. Now, it don't really say if he had brothers or not, but most likely he did, because people back then had a lot of kids. But it's not biblical. I can't say if he did or not. Now to think about it, it don't mention anything about Saul having brothers, but he might have. But if he did, let's say for the sake of this argument, he did. You know what I'm saying? And he wasn't even the oldest brother. He might have been the youngest brother. Could you imagine that being the youngest brother, being chose over your older brother? Because, back then, everything went by age. The oldest, the oldest is the one that inherited everything. He was the one that was supposed to take over dad, like whatever dad handed down, the oldest was the one supposed to get it. So imagine you being the youngest, and instead of you being the oldest, and instead of you getting if the Lord went on to go to the kish and pick one of his children, but instead of picking the oldest, he picked the youngest, did you know how upset they would be? He getting chosen over his dad. He getting chosen over his uncle. He getting chosen over his brothers, his cousin, people that may feel that they were more worthy of the position than he was. So what they going to do? They going to hate on him. That's what's going to happen. So that's why you got to be careful who you share your dreams with. You got to be careful when God reveals his will to you, what he's going to do. Y'all know, now I don't mind sharing. I share mine with y'all all the time because, like I said, y'all got to be some mature Christian to be here to listen to me talk. Because I'm not exciting at all, you know what I'm saying? I just give it like it is, and I just bring these lessons from my heart, But y'all got to be some mature Christians. So I know when I share my dreams, I've told y'all before, my ultimate goal, I literally want to save the world. I want to be a hero. I want to save the world. I want to lead billions to the word. I want to be the guy. I want this ministry to be the ministry that turns the whole heart of the world back to the Lord. Those are my goals. I don't mind sharing that with y'all because I know y'all mature Christian and y'all gonna be like, that's the honorable thing. But I wouldn't share that. I wouldn't go out and share that with the world because what they're gonna tell you, man, you crazy, you insane, you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no one man can do all that. I've been told them, I mean, you just one man. What can you really do? And you can't do much as one man. But one man plus God can accomplish anything. You see, but you got to be careful who you share. I share that with y'all because y'all are part of my ministry. I want to influence y'all. I want to inspire y'all to have some kind of goals like that, some kind of high goals. Why set low goals when you're dealing with God? No, shoot for the stars, and that's what I'm doing. I'm shooting for the stars. Matter of fact, one of my favorite J. Cole songs, he sings in the chorus, and it was so weird I didn't catch it till later on. He said, "If you believe in God," he said, "If you believe in God." Then, dang it, I'm messing it up. If you believe in God, he said, if you believe in God, then one thing's for sure: if you don't aim too high, then you aim too low. It's something like that. But he basically saying, if you truly believe in God, you truly believe that God has this power to do whatever, and you believe that He would give you this power, then why shoot low? He said, if you don't aim high, you aiming low, because that shows you don't really believe in the power of God. So when you got goals like that, you got inspiration to do things like that, everybody ain't gonna want to hear that because most people don't believe in themselves enough. Like I said, when we talk about it in point number 8, what did Eddie Kane daddy tell him? Well, I ain't ish, so you ain't gonna be ish. You know what I'm saying? When we look at point number 7, what I say, prophet is honored everywhere among everybody except for among my own people in my own hometown. Why? Because they look at themselves as being little, so they think you got to be little as well. So you have to be careful, and that's what Saul did. Saul knew the situation he is. He's going to go and tell people that he's going to be the very first king of Israel. You know what I'm saying? And you got to understand too, the tribe that he was in, and this is probably give you a little bit more background. The tribe that he was in, it was 12 tribes of Israel, and the tribe that he was in was Benjamin. That was the smallest tribe out of all the tribes. So not only was he in the smallest tribe, his family was one of the least important families in the tribe. So he's in the least important tribe, and he's in the least important family in the least important tribe. So you think people really gonna want to hear that out of all these other tribes, these other wonderful tribes, the tribe of Judah and Ephraim and all these other, out of all these tribes, the Lord gonna choose you to be king? Really? You see, that's the attitude they will have, and that's why you got to be careful. Because the Lord had already showed him, Samuel had already shown him that he was going to be king. It was all part of God's will, but everybody wouldn't believe it. So you got to be careful who you share your dream with. Matter of fact, talk about I should have used it. David. You think about David when David got anointed king. Now Saul got anointed king first, and then as we get into it in a little bit, a couple of the next chapter, we're gonna see that Saul didn't do what he was supposed to do, and he actually turned his back on the Lord. So the Lord ended up denying him king, and that's when David ended up becoming king. So David, matter of fact, David was so insignificant in his family that when Samuel went to David's house to anoint him as king, they didn't even invite David to the party. They basically had like this big feast or whatever, and they found out Samuel was coming. They had this feast, and they were going to make a sacrifice because the man of God was coming. And of course, since the man of God was coming, the dad invited all his sons in. He had 7 sons. So, the Lord had already told Samuel, said, hey, when you go there, I'm going to show you the one to anoint as king of my people. So, so of course, Samuel got there and they sit down and ate or whatever. And Samuel basically like, look, I'm coming to anoint somebody. The Lord told me to anoint somebody to be king. So where's your son? So they start passing the sons before Samuel. So it said the first one, which was the oldest, passed by and said, the Lord told Samuel, nope, that ain't him. Then the second one, nope, that ain't him. Then the third one, nope, that ain't him. Fourth one, nope, that ain't him. Fifth one, nope, that ain't him. Sixth one, man, that's all of them. And then Sam said, man, is that all your sons? I said, oh no, the youngest, he's David. He's out there, watching the sheep. We didn't even invite him. He's insignificant. And what did they say? Go out there and tell him. And he said, matter of fact, we're not going to sit down and eat until David gets here. And when David walked in, what did it say? God said, that's him. That's the one. And then Samuel anointed him with oil. And if you look at that, if you read that from that moment on, his brothers hated on him every time he got. Matter of fact, when he went to the battle and defeated the Goliath. We all know that story. You know what I'm saying? He was out there asking people like, man, because the Goliath was coming out and he was basically cursing and disrespecting God and blaspheming God. And you know what I'm saying? And David heard that it was Saul made a decree that whoever would kill him, he would basically make him rich and make him the general of the army and give him all these things. And David was inquiring about it, and his older brother came on, what you doing here? Don't you supposed to be at home watching your little sheep? Why are you out here hating on him? Why? Because it was in God's will for him to become king. So you got to watch who you share your dreams with. You got to watch. Same happened with Jesus. Again, and I brought this up earlier. You remember when he was preaching, his mom and his brothers went out and said, hey, Jesus, and people like, hey, Jesus, your mom and your brothers out there, they want to see you. And he's like, my mom and my brothers right here. The people that's listening to my words, those are my mom and brothers. And what his brother say? He done lost his mind. No, he claimed to be the son of God. He done lost his mind. Now, one of his brothers, James, ended up becoming a faithful servant, but it was long down the road after he had died. But right then, when he was living, he had no respect for him. You know what I'm saying? Actually was upset because he claimed to be the son of God, because he claimed to be the Messiah. So you have to watch that. You have to. Matter of fact, there's no great. And I wanted to read this one. I'm getting close to my time. I want to read the greatest example of this is one of my favorite stories in the Bible, and the word is exactly. I'm not making this up. The word is exactly what we need to hear. The greatest example of this is the story of Joseph. If you know your Bible, you know the story of Joseph. Watch what happened. I'm gonna read it to you. I'm not gonna try not to pre. I'm just gonna read it to you. Watch what happened. So Jacob. This is in Genesis chapter 37 is where I turn to. If you're trying to turn there with me. But watch what happened. He says, so Jacob settled again in the land of Canaan, where his father had lived. Now, this is the history of Jacob's family when Joseph was 17 years old. This is the history of Jacob's family. When Joseph was 17 years old, so he was a young one, he often tended his father's flocks with his half-brothers, the sons of his father's wife, Bilhah and Zilpah. But Joseph reported to his father some of the bad things his brothers was doing. So Joseph was a little bit of a snitch, so I can understand him not liking him there. But that's not why they really hated him. So it says, now Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other children because Joseph had been born to him in his old age. So one day he gave Joseph a special gift, a beautiful robe. But his brothers hated Joseph because of his father's partiality, and they couldn't say a kind word to him. So they already hated him. So that's why I say you got to watch who you say, who you tell your dreams. So you see, it's already setting up. They already hating him because his dad is, treating him a little better than he's treating the other one. So then watch what happened. So it said, now one night Joseph had a dream and promptly reported the details to his brothers. See, when God showed him his will, and he went and told his brothers. So it said he had a dream and promptly reported the details to his brothers, causing them to hate him even more. Listen to this dream, he announced. We were out in the field tying up bundles of grain. My bundle stood up, and then your bundles all gathered around and bowed low before it. So you're going to be our king, are you? His brothers taunted, and they hated him all the more for his dream and what he had said. See what happened? When he had that dream, God was actually showing him his will for Joseph. He was showing Joseph that, hey, you're eventually going to be the ruler of Egypt. And if y'all know the story, I'm not going to go through the whole story, but we know that Joseph eventually ended up being basically like just the king of Egypt. He was the ruler of Egypt, even though the Pharaoh was over him, but he was the second most powerful man in the world. So God was showing him his will. He was showing him, but you notice what it says. They hated him the more because of his dream. Why? Because in his dream, for God's will for Joseph's life, had Joseph been a ruler and had his brothers being his servants. You see what I'm saying? Two different wills. Both of them going to end up good because, it's going to end up good because they went down there and they end up serving Joseph. And of course, Joseph kept them alive because the famine was going on. And that's where the whole nation of Israel came from, those 12 brothers. So it worked out for good. But according to God's will, they had to be Joseph's servants and they hated Joseph. See what I'm saying? So watch what else happened. So it says, then Joseph had another dream and told his brothers about it. Listen to this dream, he said. The sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed low before me. So this time he told his father as well as his brothers, and his father rebuked him. In other words, his father got on him. What do you mean? His father asked. Will your mother, your brothers, and I actually come and bow before you? But while his brothers were jealous of Joseph, his father gave it some thought and wondered what it all meant. But that's exactly what it meant. At some point in their life, they was going to come and bow down to Joseph. God has showed Joseph his will for his life. Now you notice he didn't show what it was going. He didn't show him what it was going to take for him to get to that will. He didn't show Joseph that he was going to end up going being sold into slavery for that will to come true. He didn't show Joseph. He didn't show Joseph that he's going to end up being a prisoner for that will to come true. He didn't show Joseph that he's going to be a foreigner in a foreign land for 20 years for it to come true. But he did show him that what his will was. Joseph knew his will. He didn't know how the will was going to play out. But he knew at some point he was going to be a leader, and his mom, even his mom and dad and all his brothers was going to bow down to him. And he was excited about it. Oh man, God just showed me I'm going to be this leader. Y'all going to bow down to me. And what happened? They hated him for it. They hated him for it. They hated him for it. So it says, why? So of course, I want to read this other part. So of course, and I'm not going to read all through it. So of course, after that happened, basically the brothers went off with some donkeys. They were supposed to be feeding, grazing their cattle somewhere, and of course they was out messing around because they were just lazy dudes that didn't do what they were supposed to do. So the dad sent Joseph out to look for him. So when they saw Joseph coming, and I want to get to this part because watch what happened. So when they saw Joseph coming, it says, now when Joseph's brothers saw him coming, they recognized him in the distance and made plans to kill him. Here comes that dreamer, they exclaimed. Come on, let's kill him and throw him into a deep pit. We can tell our father that a wild animal has eaten him up. Then we'll see what becomes of his dreams. See there? Because he shared his dreams with them, because God revealed his will to them, him, and he shared with his brothers, they hated him for it. So that's why you got to be careful. So now back to where we was at. What it said? It said Saul told his uncle the donkeys had been found, but he didn't tell his uncle that Samuel had anointed him to be king. Why? Because he knew if he did, his uncle would hate him for it. He knew the people in his town would hate him for it. He knew the people in the country would hate him for it because they had never had a king before. And that's a big dream. You think of all the people in the nation, all the people that's more honorable than you, all of the houses that's bigger than your house, all the tribes that's more significant than your tribe. You think of all these, you're going to be the king? That's what people do. So that's why you have to be careful who you tell your dreams to. You got to be careful who you tell God's will for your life to. Because like I said, God's will for your life and God's will for their life might be different. And God's will for your life might elevate you to a high place, and it might be God's will for their life might elevate them to a low place. Not that it's going to make any difference. Like I said, it's going to all work together for good in the end anyway. But still, they'll be, they'll be jealous, and because of their jealousy, they'll hate you for it. They want to kill him because all he did was share his will with them, God's will for his life with them, and they wanted to kill it because God's will had put him in a better position than it was going to put them in. But guess what? For that 20 years after this happened, they got to live free lives, got to be home with their kids and everything. And Joseph had to go, and he had to go to prison. He had to go be a slave for 5 or 6 years. He had to go to prison for 5 or 6 years. He had to go live in a foreign land for like 20 years before that will came true. So they still actually got it off, came off better than him. Better than him as far as the actions. Now, eventually, yeah, the place he got was a high place, but he had to pay a hefty price to get there. So they jealous of him, but I guarantee you, had they been put in that same position, it wouldn't went like it went with Joseph. Because Joseph never turned his back on God. He never got angry at God. He never blamed God. Matter of fact, if you read toward the end of that story, toward either chapter 49 or 50, when his brothers come up and they basically ask him for forgiveness, he said, look, what y'all meant for evil, God meant for good. He said, don't even sweat it. Y'all didn't do that. God did that to me. He understood the understand. He knew God put him in that position. He knew God put him in a position. Why? So he can live out his will. That's why I say it's all Romans 8:28. That's why that's my verse. All things work together for good to them that love the Lord, to them who are called according to his purpose. Joseph understood that. So he wasn't even upset at his brothers. His brothers, they was guilty all the whole 20 years. They was guilty because they knew they had what they did out of jealousy. They did it out of hatred. But why did they hate him? Why were they so jealous of him? Their jealousy started off because their dad treated him favorably than he did them. But their hatred really festered when Joseph shared his will, God's will for his life with them. That's what really got them heated. So that's why you got to be careful when you share your dream. Everybody don't want to see your dream. Everybody don't want to see you successful. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the things I talk about when I talk to my kids. Like I told you, my youngest son played ball, man, phenomenal ball player. He was all in the papers and he got all kind of accolades and awards and stuff. And the one thing I always told him, I was like, son, make sure you stay humble. I said, matter of fact, when these people give you, praising you and giving you all these compliments, and when they criticize you, next minute they criticize you, I said, what you need to do, take your praises and compliments and take your criticism and put them in the same trash can. Because they're worthless. They're worthless. Because it's so weird. People want to see you fail. They don't want to see you. Most people don't want to see you. I'm not like that. I want to see y'all doing better. I would love for y'all to do. I want to be doing good too. Don't get me wrong. But it would not offend me at all if y'all are doing better than me. If God blesses y'all more than he blessed me, I want him to. I'm going to be happy for you. Hopefully you'll give me a little bit of it. You see what I'm saying? But everybody's not like that. And some people, they want to see you successful. Again, I see it a lot in the black community. We want to see you successful, just not more successful than we are. And because of that, they will hate you, especially when it's in God's will for you to be more successful than them. So you have to be careful. You have to be careful who you tell, because think about it. Think about this. Remember when Jesus was, right before he was crucified, the day before he was crucified, he came to town. What was they screaming? Hosanna! Glory to the Lord, Hosanna. You know what I'm saying? Messiah, Hosanna. You know what I'm saying? People was taking their coats off and laying it in the road, and they was putting leaves down for him to walk on. They was treating him like a king. Treating him like a king. And the very next day, the exact same people that was calling and saying Hosanna and putting their coats down and putting the leaves was the exact same people that were saying crucify him. Crucify him. Why? Because he said that it was in God, because he told them, he revealed that it was part of God's will for him to be the true king of Israel and to be, he was the son of God. So when they found out, you know what I'm saying, they said it, you know what I'm saying, they heard the stories and they heard the miracles he was doing. So they was cool with that. But when he actually said it out of his mouth, when he actually let the words come out of his mouth that, yes, I am the son of God, yes, I'm the true king of Israel, they hated him for it. They hated him for it, but guess what? That was his will. That was God's will for his life, to be the true king of Israel. That was God's will for his life, to be the true king of Israel, to be the perfect sacrifice. They hated him for it. So you have to watch who you share your dreams with. You have to watch, even with the will of God, you have to watch who you tell, because everybody's not going to like it. Everybody's not going to be happy for you. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's not going to be happy that I'm the lost sheep minister. Everybody's not going to be happy that my goal is to save the world. Everybody's not going to be happy that I hope that I want to hear, well done, thou good and faithful servant, when I get to heaven. You know what I'm saying? God, I pray that, I hope that I'm going to have some rewards for this little work that I've done. That's not why I do it, but I do hope for it. I ain't going to sit here and lie like I don't. You know what I'm saying? That's not what motivated me. My love for the Lord is what motivated me to do it. But the Bible do say, if you do these things, there's going to be some rewards. So I'm hoping to have my stuff. Everybody's not going to be happy, because everybody's will, God's will for their life, is not going to be the same as God's will for your life. And if God's will is going to put you in a better position than them, they're not going to be happy about it. So you have to be careful. So number 10, and we're going to finish with this. Everyone is not going to be happy about God's will for you. So be careful who you share your will. Share it with. Everybody's not going to be happy. Because again, y'all not going to have the same station in life. You're not going to be in the same levels. What God do for you, he's not going to do for them. And what God do for them, he's not going to do for you. So if you in a position where God's going to do more for you because of the will he has for you than others, 9 times out of 10, they're going to hate him. We saw, like I said, with Saul. And that's why Saul didn't say, when his uncle asked him, he didn't tell him. Because his uncle, again, if it's going to come through that lineage, his uncle should have been picked, or his dad should have been picked. That's why he didn't say it, because he knew they would hate him if he said something. Matter of fact, when we're going to get into the lesson next week, we're going to see when Samuel came to actually anoint him, he was hiding. He already knew what was going to be up. We'll see it. We're going to get into that next week. He was hiding. They had to go find him. Like, where's Saul at? And they say he was over there hiding beneath the luggage. He didn't want it, because he knew the hate that was going to come with it. So you have to be careful. Number 10, everyone is not going to be happy about God's will for you, so be careful who you share it with. That's it, y'all. I went just a few minutes longer than I normally would go, but we got it done. We got that section of chapter 10 done. And so, like I said, next week, Lord willing, I'll be back, and we'll get into the next session. In the next session, you'll get to see a little bit more of what happens when you follow the will. We'll see that you said, we see so far that Saul has been following the will. He's been doing the steps. So now next week, we're going to start seeing the things that come to fruition, the rewards you receive for following the will of God. So thank y'all for joining me tonight. Of course, my ending announcements is the same as always. Let me find my little sheets. Of course, if there's anything else that I haven't covered already that you want me to cover, inbox me and let me know, and I will work that into my lesson plan. As of right now, God will, next Monday at 7, like I said, we'll finish up chapter 10, the second part of chapter 10, but it deals more with the rewards you receive from following God's will. So the title might be a little different. I'm not sure. I haven't really got into it and wrote the lesson just yet. I finished up where we was at today. But that's the game plan. But again, if there's anything else that I haven't covered already that you want me to cover, please let me know. Keep sharing the videos, telling people about the videos. As always, it's always a blessing that y'all will mind. Y'all like being tortured and y'all like to torture other people too with this onslaught of words. But keep sharing the videos so this ministry can grow and this wisdom can get out there. Of course, if you're watching this video and you're not 100% sure about salvation, that's the first step to get into the will of God. It's being saved. It's accepting Jesus Christ your Savior. So if you're watching this video, you're not 100% sure that when you go through that door called death, you're going to get to see Jesus on the other side. Please, please, please do not hesitate. Reach out to me and let me know, and I will set some time up with you so I can go over the gospel with you and hopefully help you make the decision. And if there's any kind of spiritual counseling you need that you don't have, or you just got any questions, want to talk about the Bible, anything, reach out to me and let me know. And again, I will schedule some time with you, and that's something we can discuss. And as always, I didn't get to, I was so busy yesterday. I told y'all yesterday was busy. So I didn't get to download the lesson from last week on my YouTube page, but I will probably get them both done this week. It'll be a little bit more of a calmer weekend. But if you want to watch some of my old videos, catch some of the old sermons, especially with a series like this, they got 9 parts. If you want to go back and get the other parts, you can go and watch. Do it on my YouTube page. That's go to youtube.com. Put the God's Servant / Lost Sheep Ministries in the search bar, and it usually takes you right to my channel. And of course, if you want to subscribe to it, that'll be best as well. That way, every time I upload a video, it'll come straight to you. You can also watch it on my Facebook. I never take it on my Facebook page neither, but it's just a lot easier to find it on YouTube because it usually takes me right to it. So that being said, I'm past my time, and I know I'm kind of finishing my announcement quickly, but I do want to pray and go and get this ended tonight. Thank y'all for joining me. Thank y'all for, especially ones that was in here the whole time. Y'all definitely are some mature Christians that'll be able to deal with that onslaught of word. But I appreciate y'all, such an encouragement. I love you all, and I'm gonna pray and I'm gonna get out of here. All right, dear Lord and Father, thank you so much for this wonderful lesson. No, it's been a while. We've been working. It's been over almost 3 months. That we've been going through this lesson, Lord, but it's just because it's so vital. It's so vital for them to understand this concept, to really truly grasp this concept of your will, and help them understand that how we can't do nothing outside of your will. Nothing that's worth doing is going to be done outside of your will, Lord. Nothing that's going to last is going to be done outside of your will. So that's why I thank you so much for sending your word down and giving me letting your spirit inspire me to write this lesson, put this letter together as I read through that chapter. And we saw how Saul, just following your will, doing the things that he needed to do, he ended up becoming king. He ended up becoming a high position. Now, of course, we're going to get into it. He's going to go straight a little later, but he followed your will, and when he followed your will, he was successful. And matter of fact, when we look at what's going to happen to him as he goes on, is because he got out of your will. So just help everybody understand this, how important it is to continue to follow your will for our lives and to do the things you have for us to do so we may be able to really achieve success in this world, Lord. I pray you be with everybody that's going through it. We all going through something right now. So I just pray you give your power, love, and wisdom over everybody, Lord. Whatever they're going through, just keep your hands upon them, give them encouragement to keep going through and making it through so they can come out of the other side of that fiery trial, purified, and they can be glorified because you use them and because of their faithfulness, Lord. Just watch over all your servants. Be with us all, everybody that's giving their heart to following your will and doing the work you have for us to do. Just give us your power, love, and wisdom over any problem that arises that may keep us from doing their work, and give us the guidance we need so we may continue to come across those that need to hear your words of encouragement or maybe hear your gospel and see your fire and spirit down upon our hearts. So make sure your gospel with them so they may come to know you before it's too late. Be with all my ministry members, Lord. Keep them safe and protected. And just I pray that me and my family and this ministry, we continue to have an influence in their lives. They give them the want to get their whole heart to following your wills as well. We ask you to watch over this country, Lord, as a whole. Help us get back. Help us see how far away from you we've gotten, and give us the want to turn our whole hearts back to you and get back to the foundation of your word that this country was built upon before it's too late, and we go past that point of no return and completely lose your grace and your mercy upon our lives that has sustained us all these years. Help us see how important it is for us to do this so future generations may also come up and rise up to know you, and not just know of you, but know you, so they may have the same mercy and grace that sustains them as well. I just pray you be with the world as a whole, Lord. Be with us all. Give us I pray for the day when the world as a whole will humble ourselves, pray, seek your face, and turn from our wicked ways, so you may hear from heaven, forgive our sins, and heal our land. Keep us all safe as we go about this night. Help us get the rest in, good, peaceful, nice rest, and get up tomorrow with another day and another opportunity to honor and glorify your name, and actually build your kingdom once again. Thank you for the lesson tonight. I pray these words touch the hearts and the minds of those that need that hear them, and bring them under conviction and give them the want to do what they need to do so they can find your will for their life. Thank you so much for all you've done and given. Say this prayer in your wonderful Son, Jesus' name. Amen. So again, thank y'all for hanging in there. I really appreciate it. And it was a little bit longer than normal, but we finally got that part finished up. And like I said, I'll jump into the lesson some point this week and put it together, and we'll see what the next lesson will be about. It might be still the success of the will of God. I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head, but I will check it out. But until then, y'all keep praying for me. I keep praying for y'all. As always, I love y'all. If any of my Lost Sheep people are watching, we will be having our meeting tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. And if any of y'all that are watching that want to be a part of it, and you live anywhere between Dixon and Waverly, let me know. I can come pick you up so y'all can join in and we can meet in person. But until then, I love you all. And remember to always watch your back and pray. Peace.